Awesome. Hope everyone's having a great day and ready to get some knowledge. Just waiting for Tokenicer here. Coffee, did you want to say something there?
Yeah, thanks very much, brother. I just wanted to
No
send some love and support from Ireland. I'm not too sure how long I can stay on here for. I was just about to crash, actually, and I saw this. I remembered this was happening, and I saw it, so I said I'd just check in, see what you guys are up to. But I'll stick around for a little while, and yeah, just wanted to say again, much love, respect, and a lot of support from Ireland coming your way. And looking forward to the discussion ahead. I'll catch up on the recording if I don't. If I'm not here for the live thing. Okay. Good luck.
Hell yeah! Thanks for the support.
Yep.
That's really awesome. Cheers from Canada.
Nice one, brother.
Okay, I just added Token here as co-host here. Just give it a sec, guys. So today, before we get started, we're going to cover XDC network. We're going to cover some things on XRP. We're going to talk a little bit about the SEC lawsuit. We're going to dive into some Constellation DAG and some Quant. And there should be some good information. We're going to leave you guys with some homework, share some educational information that we have put together. And yeah, okay, there we go. Token, I can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me? Sweet. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. Apparently you can't use a PC.
Yeah, it's funky. I don't know why they do that, but yeah. So okay, well, let's see. What time? It's 4:34. So we're 4 minutes after. So you give it one more minute, and everyone's in here, and we'll get started.
Yeah, looks like we've already got some people in here, though. Hey.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's 4:35. They're 5 minutes late. Then sucks to be them. So, well, everyone, I am Citizen of the Future. And first things first, as we're getting started here, feel free, guys, use the emojis to interact if you have a question or whatever. So we'll do some speaking, and then at the end of every topic, we'll stop and we'll ask questions, see if you guys want to contribute. If you have anything, we'll try to answer it the best we can. And we'll do room resets there. And please, guys, we're not doing price predictions. We're going to talk about the fundamentals of utility blockchain networks, when moon, stuff like that. And remember, none of this is financial advice. We're not financial advisors. We're just talking about things that we've researched and that we love. So I'd like to get this started with an opening statement now, as we went through our disclaimer. So big shout out to everyone here, because, everyone that's in the mainstream world is being distracted. They're being distracted with COVID-19. They're being distracted with Dodge and distracted with drama and entertainment. And it's awesome. Let's see how many people there are here now. Can't even see numbers. So, well, all of you, shout out to all you guys here. We're a group of people that are interested in finding projects that will be used in the future and interoperable with trade finance infrastructure. So I consider all you as citizens of the future, as we are talking about invisible networks that if somebody doesn't know how to use the internet, then they can't access them. It's too hard, it's too complicated, and it takes a lot of work and research to learn how this digital payment infrastructure is actually revolutionizing and building the future. So big shout out to all you guys here that are trying to learn, that are looking for information on technology of the future. So that is my piece. And Token, if you have anything to say, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone for taking the time, hopping in here and joining the space. I think we've got a lot of really good educational content on this space. As Citizens of the Future had already said, we're not going to be talking about price at all, just because you hear that shit so much just around crypto Twitter already. So this discussion is going to be really just focused on the utility and the adoption and use cases of what this space can really bring us.
100%. So you're not going to be hearing XRP 589. Yeah.
Sorry, can I just jump in there for a second, guys?
Yes.
Cheers. So I actually just caught the you had like a teaser on YouTube about this, okay? And the one thing that really interests me, and I'd love to hear you guys talking about it, is well, I think you called it like fractional
Fractionalized
ownership.
ownership. Yeah, we'll be covering a lot of that.
Yeah,
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
excellent. I look forward to that
Token,
discussion.
you missed it.
Excellent.
He's from Ireland and he's about to hop off soon. So, but that's a perfect topic just to get started. Fractionalized ownership.
No,
is, you know,
I heard that part. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Thanks for
okay.
hopping on. I know it's late where you are.
Yeah, man, I'm here showing all the support that I can. You know, yeah, I love you guys are doing this and your approach and your sort of methodology and the ethos behind it all. So much love and
We
respect to
wouldn't
both
be
of
here
you.
without you guys.
Okay, so I guess we'll just get started. I got to figure out while we're talking here, but talk a little bit about fractionalized ownership because that's one of the industries that's being revolutionized with blockchain and DLT. And then I'll get the link out there for people to read along and see some of the images that we're going to be talking about.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Fractionalized ownership. So the biggest thing about it is it allows anyone in any sort of economy to participate. You could be in a G20 nation like Canada or the United States, for example, and put in, I don't know, 10 grand. Whereas someone else on the other side of the world, say in Africa, could also put in that same or a different amount of money in the same asset. And it's global now. It's not like stocks where it's restricted to one region. And you can start with any amount of money. This means we're all given an equal chance to grow while also profiting from the disruption in the space.
Yeah, and then like fractionalized ownership of properties one day that we can see, you know, with a tokenized, say if you tokenized a land title of a property. And, you know, in Canada where we are, home prices are through the roof. A single family home is $1 million. So low end people, they can't afford $1 million mortgage. So, but if you tokenize a land title, you can fractionalize ownership of that and split it up between, say, 5 people. You can split up the ownership between 5 people, and it will allow you to split the ownership of different assets in as many ways as you can.
Exactly, and it doesn't just extend to your regular typical assets and securities, like as we see with like these digital assets or even with stocks. It can really range to a bunch of other things. Like if anyone's into LCX here, you'd know they're really looking to take this tokenization approach to just about anything that can be viewed as an asset. There's people talking about tokenizing like the ownership of like Lamborghinis and stuff like that, just because with this technology you can really split the ownership and value of whatever you want, as we've seen with just a bunch of the bullshit in the NFT markets. Like there's pictures of monkeys being valued for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you can value a piece of digital art that I guess you could debate whether is good art or not, think of all the other potential things you could not only give value to, but create the whole economic inclusion incentive of everyone participating and everyone helping grow and bring value to that community.
Okay, so while we'll talk about industries, just a quick intro into industries that are being revolutionized by blockchain and DLT. So we know the trade finance industry is being revolutionized with smart contracts, feeless swaps, digital documents. Then there's the health industry that's being revolutionized which is medical records, where they're digitalizing medical records and now is removing the paper from the industry because paper is slow, expensive, and broken. So I just tweeted the blockchain thread I wanted to show you guys, and if you scroll down, if you go to it, then you guys can see some of the educational stuff I put together to show you. So cross-border remittances is a huge thing. If you guys don't know about our current banking system, it goes through correspondent banking system. It's slow, it's expensive. They have Nostro and Bostro accounts, which are holding accounts. So say they're sending $1 million, or there's trillions of dollars moving through the industry, but when a bank wire transfer is sent from one address to the next, the money gets held in an OSTRO or BOSTRO account for 5 to 7 business days until that fund is settled, and it's just sitting there idle. It's not making no money, not making no interest, and that causes a liquidity problem for the industry. It's a huge thing. In cross-border payments like XRP, where you could settle a transaction 4 seconds and fraction of a cent, that's huge. And then we could see decentralized voting, record keeping, video game ecosystems like Fort and Gala Games, for example, where you're now introducing NFTs into video games, where players are playing to earn NFTs, and then they take those NFTs and they can actually sell them for real money. So now you have your son or family members that are playing video games, and they're actually being able to sell things that they're earning in the video game, which is huge. If you think about how many trillions of dollars are in the video game industries, it will change a lot of lives, because now instead of kids having these items that are worthless, they can actually trade them for real money value.
Yeah, that's a great addition to it. Just like most of us understand, right, that this space is the internet of value, essentially. It's the second layer of the internet that's bringing the value in all these technological solutions that are going to help push us into this next fourth industrial revolution. And the beautiful thing about the creation of the internet of value is just, as we said before, there's the whole economic incentive of how anyone, even if they're unbanked, they can join in on this digital revolution by simply opening up a wallet. And once they have a wallet, they can now send and receive funds, and they're essentially part of all these communities.
Yeah, it's the inclusion that, there's 1.8 billion people in the world that do not have access to banking infrastructure. And if you think about people in Africa and these third world countries where they're in villages, they don't have these banks that they can go to like us. We're lucky that we're close to the banking infrastructure. But out there, now with this tokenization of value, people can have a mobile phone where they literally just open up their phone and they can send tokens, digital tokens, and participate in global networks of value, which now brings them away from having to use cash, which, if you get to some of these poverty countries where their cash is so hyperinflated, it's worth nothing, and actual tokens that hold value are steady, they're not getting robbed blindly.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That's what I thought I'd attribute.
We all know the space started with Bitcoin, and how Bitcoin came from the 2008 financial collapse, where the reason it collapsed was because there wasn't, no one knew who owned what. There wasn't proof of ownership. And this is one of the many things that this space is trying to solve with distributed ledgers. You're able to track in real time, transparently, who owns what exactly, and where that specific asset or whatever it is has been through on the blockchain.
Yeah, now it's complete tracking of who owned the object, what time it was sent. That's the crazy thing about these DLT systems, is it's a constantly growing ledger that's time-stamped until the network started, and it's going to be continue going for the rest of our lives. So 10 years from now, 15 years, when you go to a bank, the one thing that really blew me away is they only keep records for 10 years and then they're destroyed. And if you don't have those records, well, then you're screwed. So if you have to get a transaction from 20 years ago, you're screwed. Like they say, oh, sorry, we can't help you, we destroyed our records. But now with DLT, with all this stuff being tracked on a permanent ledger, we are now seeing a complete track on a ledger, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Once you do something on a immutable ledger like these networks, it stays on there forever. And you could take that as a sort of double-edged sword, in the sense that anything you do, let's say mistake, it can't be erased. It's going to stay on the blockchain forever. But at the same time...
Oh, what's up?
What?
Sorry,
Am I cutting out?
I just seen. Yeah, it cut out
Shit.
there, but I seen King showed up. King Solomon
Okay.
showed up.
Oh,
Big shout out to that guy.
Oh, so no, I wanted to hear what was the rest of who was that? Who was making that comment previously? That was a good comment.
Yeah, you're talking about if anything happens on a DLT ledger, that it's there for good. And there is no going back.
Yeah, I was moving over to the heavy adoption of surveillance that's going around countries everywhere. This is just going to help with it, especially with the with CBDCs rolling in. Now they can literally track where each dollar has been spent and what it was spent for. And while that is probably not the best thing for us retail people, it is something that's this is a whole new financial system pretty much, or I guess the new layer of it. So just imagine a whole new global financial system. How much money is going to be poured into that, and the amount of work and
that's the big caveat at the end, though, right? Like we all realize that is where this. Well, I think that's where I've realized that that's where this ends up. Is kind of like the tying into everybody into the same system narrative is great until you realize what it's all really about. And it's about monitoring and tracking all sorts of different shit from what we're doing. But you did bring up another good point as well. Like or both of you guys did, like the immutable ledger aspect. Like that's talking about like the new financial infrastructure that's being built. Like you look at like the legacy institutions and the banks and shit like that. They want a lot of those transactions to be private. Like all of ours are going to be quote unquote secure, so they can't monitor them. But that's where this does go. But it's all about it's almost like a race to like how many people can we tell about what's going on so they can empower themselves before the shit show really does occur, probably like in a decade or 15 or 20 years, where it's once they're marketing it to you like the best thing ever, it's the money's been made. Which sucks. But yeah,
totally agree. Yeah. And that's why I try and create this educational content, is try and wake up as many people, because that's why mainstream media doesn't talk about about the utility crypto, because these are open source token ecosystems that anyone in the world that has access to a computer can buy decentralized tokens. And whether you're buying the right one, that's where the research comes in. And it's so buried in depths of the internet and that's the reason why, is because they don't want everyone getting rich, because it's an open system. It's a decentralized, trustless system that anyone can participate in if they own a computer or a mobile phone that can access the internet.
One thing that I found interesting today, so I was like, I know this is a very, very much so a utility-driven chat, which I certainly respect. The one thing that I haven't been around forever, but I have been around since late 2016, early 2017, like, the one thing that I mistook within this market is like the power of like the masses to an extent, and that I think is like surrounding, like, along with scamming and stuff like that, like the meme coin drive, and a lot of like the NFT aspects too. I certainly respect the art aspects. I think that NFTs, like art-based NFTs, have a future in blockchain, but I think just like any other segment of the market, you're going to have oversaturation of value, and then you're going to have an undervaluation of the value whenever things shake out. But I saw an article by a guy that's a huge fucking video game blogger and like content creator that I followed for like years. That I don't know if any of you guys play games. I don't usually, but the guy's name's like Kotaku, and he was basically like shitting on these NFTs integrating into Sandbox. And it's like, what's funny? Like I will be reading an article from the same dude in 3 or 4 years, and he'll be saying that he's launching his first NFTs. Like that's it extrapolates across. Like we talk a lot about utility and value from like the infrastructure that is being built out and stuff like that. But make no mistake, like NFTs, everything like that, like it's going to continue to grow. They may be oversaturated right now, but it's a wheel that is already in motion, and that wheel doesn't stop for probably a few decades until everything actually flushes out.
Yeah. Well, it's the start, because now you can integrate a non-fungible token into any video games. Like, I don't know why he would diss NFTs, because like, you have that in a video game, you're playing 3 hours and you get this sword and you're able to sell it for $250. Like who's going to complain when you can play a video game and you can actually cash out whatever you earn in the video game?
Yeah, but a lot of what we see right now, and this is crazy, is like if you look at like the Gordon Gekko quote, you're not selling people actual money or even being or even the anything about being rich or anything. You're selling like the proposition of like what can happen, and that is kind of what we see across the space. That's why we've seen so many scams, and we're going to see new iterations of scams. It's fucking nuts. But NFTs, like the art-based NFTs, are going to have a really strong hold, like a big stronghold in this market long term. Some of them, but I think that like 95% of the projects probably don't fucking make it, which sucks, or too illiquid to make it. But it's like that first iteration and what needs to happen with NFTs, because NFTs go. I would argue that at some point what NFTs represent as far as that like non-tangible ownership of something like that's verifiable are even much bigger than like the unit of account based assets that we see right now and are trading in right now. It's just like which ones and how far off are we from that happening?
No, 100%. Like the current NFTs being digital art thing, I personally feel like doesn't quite do the technology enough justice for what it can really be, like say 5-10 years from now.
That deals in that 100%. That's the lack of fucking regulatory authority there. Like, because if we, well, actually no, that's not true at all. Because people have fucking all the NFT space right now, they're 90% of them are selling securities to people. They're telling you if you buy my generative artwork at 100% sales, I'll start creating a metaverse, which is like pooled funds invested in a common enterprise based on the expectation of value of the work by others, and by others in this situation is the NFT project. So yeah, you're selling me a security. But yeah, I agree with you, dude. I mean, it's fucking crazy. Yeah. Like, people haven't really taken the bull by the horns, and they have a big opportunity right now if they were to do that. But it's about sustainability. What's going to be sustainable? I would love to just. That's kind of like what I think the best advice I could ever give to anybody in this space. Don't buy anything at all-time high, and look for things that are going to be sustainable in a year, 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years from now, because that's what it's about.
Yeah, it's about.
Hey man, could you say that security thing one more time? That just really made sense, and I just want to like replay that in my head. Sorry to jump in, but that was pretty cool. No, but the NFT and the security thing.
I mean, it like being a part of like the XRP community. You get very familiar with like what the Howey test potentially implies, and obviously, what was like the 1940s or whatever. But essentially, the definition of a security is an investment into a common enterprise with an expectation of value based on the efforts of others. And what a lot of these NFT projects, and here's where I think it gets fuzzy, is like, and I don't want to negate people innovating and launching things, because you can launch an art-based generative project and sell it as that, and then down the road add in additional utility and value, whatever the fuck you want to do. But if you phrase the sale around, hey, I'm going to sell this art-based project and we've seen this so much. There's 8,888 at 25% sold. At 25% sold, you'll get access to the Discord. At 50% sold, you'll get access to the website. At 75% sold, you get access to the merch store. At 100% sold, we are going to start flushing out the 1,000 goldfish fucking metaverse that we have no idea how we're going to build. And it's going to create so much value for you. Like, it's the fucking most idiotic thing I've ever seen, because it's literally incentivizing people to buy the initial thing based on something that hasn't even been built yet. And the funds from that initial thing are going to be utilized to build that thing that it hasn't even been built yet. And you expect value, a future value from what's about to be built. And that's, I think, it's a huge disconnect in trust, especially like we've seen like the Time fucking catastrophe where that one dude was like the Danielle dude, and I wasn't in Time, was apparently did a lot of great stuff for the community, but also made a huge mistake in saying, I thought that this person had changed. And the person that he thought that it changed was this fucking chief financial officer managing hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars that was accused 2 times for felony aspects and fraud. And it's like, we need to be fucking like on top of our game in this space when we're researching projects. And when hype cycles occur and bull markets occur, it gets much more difficult to do that, because everybody wants to catch the next best thing, and it's human nature. But man, I mean, there's a lot of shit, and I think the gavel is going to drop, and I think, and I'm sorry, Citizen, But I think like the XRP / Ripple case is going to be a fucking watershed moment for this whole space, and I'm just interested to see what happens.
Oh fuck yeah, I do too. I've been waiting for 4 years to see the to see the XRP's real run, but we've been just getting crapped on here once my headphones are dying.
I don't even necessarily like. I love XRP. I think that it's going to do. I think that it would do great on a level playing field with all the connections and the rails and everything else. But I don't. I've diversified to the point where I don't necessarily care. Like, I want the SEC and I want the United States government to show their hand, because we haven't seen what hand they're going to show yet. At some point that happens, and I'm really curious on how it affects this space from like a macro standpoint. Like, what's going to be built, what can be built. I'm just more interested in like how to survive moving forward in this space based on what comes down probably from one court case.
No, that's a really good point. Like, what the regulators and the like top 1% do is going to play a huge part. Like, as much as we preach how like the disruption in the space is going to be, it's still like generally speculative. We don't know what they can do yet. But at the same time, we've also got to remember, like, this is a global asset class, and it's not something we've ever seen before like this. Like, you could argue, I guess, commodities like gold are also a global asset class, but they don't have that whole community and network effect like all these assets do. And
did you guys see the BlackRock announcement today?
I did not know what it said.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
So there was an illusion. Now this is from CoinDesk, so take it with a gigantic fucking grain of salt. But BlackRock essentially, through the way that the CoinDesk article was phrased, is that BlackRock is going to essentially start operating a crypto trading platform with that, and then it said like BlackRock has $10 trillion of assets under management. But CoinDesk didn't do the due diligence. I did a video like an hour ago. The platform that the crypto trading platform essentially is going to potentially be on, again, I want to see another article besides CoinDesk to state it or something else, is going to be on their Aladdin platform. And their Aladdin platform is kind of like an overseer of all sorts of different assets, including derivatives, essentially overseeing $21.6 trillion in assets. So yeah, and we know that BlackRock employees have moved back and forth with blockchain companies, government entities, and it's like a reciprocal thing where we see these like moves. If you've been paying attention, and I know that most of you guys have, past 2 or 3 years, we have seen a lot of very interesting moves with a lot of very interesting people. Jay Clayton left the fucking SEC and joined Fireblocks, which is
don't even get me started on Jay.
Super blockchain, super like institutional grade custody aspects and all sorts of crazy shit. Like, that's all that we need to be doing is just paying attention to what's going on. And BlackRock, arguably, potentially running the world, obviously. Ridiculous. It's fucking like it's so comical, like watching it happen, because like everybody can see what's happening, and then trying to like convince family members, and they're like, well, I don't know, because it seems really scammy. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Like, the richest people in the world are doing this, like, so I'm going to try to do it as well. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to a point where you can try to help like your family and stuff as much as you can, like telling them why these networks are actually going to be utilized in the future, but it's entirely up to them to decide if they really want to dive down that rabbit hole, right? And there's a lot of people that still are extremely skeptical of this, and I guess looking at it from a quote-unquote normie's point of view, you can kind of see why. This is essentially digital money that's A, intangible, but B, you're trusting automated systems to process and validate everything. And that's... In theory,
am super excited. I will say one thing. Because, like, if I'm not going to show YouTube or anything, but, like, if I look at, like, analytics for people that, like, actually watch some of the shit that I try to put out, the 13 to 18-year-old age range is 0%. 0% of people are watching my shit. And I have kids that are in that age range. And I know that there's this, like, sense of entitlement just essentially within that age range of people, for the most part. And I'm really interested, like, when those people get into, like, their mid-20s, like, they're just going to be, like, we think it's the Wild West now, but, like, imagine what those people are going to be launching. They're like, I can certainly just do whatever the fuck I want to do, without any expectation of anything. It's going to be complete insanity. It'll be really fun to watch, I think.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yo, Citizen, I just wanted to add that I've realized we've gone pretty far off topic of
Yeah,
our initial list. Yeah,
I see that.
I
Yeah.
mean, we've had some really good info come in here, but if you wanted to still stick to the script, that is, I'm good with anything.
Well, yeah, I think
Sorry, guys.
no, that's
It's
okay.
all
King.
good.
You
No,
brought
you
some
brought-
really good points, man. You brought some really good points, and like especially with the SEC, just talking about that. I know that was one of the big things we were going to talk about is the corruption. That they talk about the Bill Hinman changing it to his own personal opinion, but I was around and. When they released that speech, and that was taken as clarity. That was on the media. It was on in front of everyone that Bitcoin and Ethereum got clarity, while XRP was being left behind. And it's funny now that they're being pushed in a corner in this lawsuit case that they're having troubles backing out of. And seeing those 1,000 documents that they said they didn't have, and now that's being shed to light. I just can't wait till we all need to keep putting pressure on the SEC. And keep tagging them and say, hey, you guys are lying, because this is truly not fair that they give BTC and Ethereum a free pass, but they don't clarify XRP when everyone's been asking.
Hey, you have in the pinned tweet, you have Xin Fin listed. I saw it, and maybe touch base for a second on this, because I know you're a big XDC guy, and I hold it as well.
Yeah.
The Explorer announcement was really cool. Like, I was reading through the blog, and essentially, I love because I'm a fucking asshole, and I like researching and tracking certain things. Like within the Explorer, like the ability to get email notifications and stuff like that for certain wallets and potential tracking and stuff. And I think Xin Fin's a monster, obviously, within especially core to settler, all that stuff. It's gonna be ridiculous, but yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think there's a lot of big things, and I was just about to get into the Xin Fin. I finally figured out how to share the first tweet there. It took me long enough, but there's so many big things I think coming with XDC network and the trade finance industry, and just with the connections that I have put together through my research, and with Inigio as their digital document transformer, where they can attach digital documents and use XDC for settlement, which is going to be huge for the whole trade finance industry as a whole, because 99% of the trade finance and the supply chain is paper. And with that paper, they don't get the data points, they don't get all these things, and it's just fragmented, it's slow, and it's broken. And I think XDC is a big solution to that, especially with their partnership with ITFA.
I have to do I did a deep dive into Xin Fin a year ago. I have to do another one.
My guy, you should take a look at all my deep dives, because I've done many hours of research, and I put it all together in thread form to show the biggest partnerships that I found, to make it easy for everyone to put their research together.
I'm definitely going to have to follow all of those different initiatives. I'm kind of with Xin Fin and Quant and even Polkadot, I'm in this weird position where I bought insanely early. So I kind of am just okay, I think that even with that small amount that I put on, I'm okay, I can look into other things, but
yeah,
that's a mistake, I think, too, because especially when opportunity knocks, it's there's going to be these enterprise grade assets. If I look for longevity, and especially what I think this market consumes, we talk about imagine 2017. A lot of people were in that time frame, and you look back at that bear market. A lot of people would say they would have been better off just holding Bitcoin or Ethereum. Certainly true in that regard, but as these layer ones kind of evolve and continue to grow, it's really fucking interesting to see what they're going to do, because I think that the store of value at some point has to shift to utility over speculation or inefficiency or just whatever is going on right now.
Yeah, one day we're going to see a utility run where the shit coins get shut down, and then the smart money rolls into the utility tokens, and then that's when we'll see our the craziest candlesticks that we've ever seen.
Makes me think we might be a little ways away from that right now, though, with the
definitely
coins going up to billions of dollars of market cap, and you're oh my god, there's there's stuff like, even like I'm a big Hedera Hashgraph guy. Tokenomics, like you can shit on tokenomics of anything almost, but it's like I look at a lot of these like enterprise grade assets and I'm like, okay, well, why would the tokenomics be in the way that they are? It's about sustainability of the network, growing out the network effect, Metcalfe's law, and then literally once we have regulatory clarity and the fruition of like the value and utility in these networks, it's a no-brainer. So like this is an impatient mindset, and it's a mistake. And I think that a lot of people have made mistakes just by trying to get rich in this market. And it's like, man, you were literally we're holding the shovels, of the fucking internet of value. And it's like,
yeah, the regulated internet of value.
Nobody wants to dig.
Yeah, exactly. It takes research, man. It takes research. So I guess I'll do a quick 5-minute overview of what I was gonna share on XDC, just to get you guys started, just to throw some fuel in the fire, to start some inspiration. So that tweet I just shared right now is a regulated fintech review that I put together. So XDC Network is partnered with the ITFA, International Trade Forfeiting Association, and they have an initiative called the TFD Initiative. And that TFD Initiative, if you click that document, hopefully it brings you up. If not, then I'll have to send it again. But it's the number 8th in my thread of threads if it brings you to the top of thread of threads. But if you click it, and it will show you the TFD initiative and who's a part of it. But you see HSBC, you see ING, you see ICC. The International Chamber of Commerce has a DSI initiative, which is a Digital Standards Initiative. And the DSI initiative points to 2 different things, which is Trade Trust Network, which is a trade finance platform just like XDC. And it also points to the XDC, the ITFA DNI initiative, which is another initiative. And it's just a bunch of conglomerate of these huge trade finance companies, and they work all together digitalizing documents to make a trade finance ecosystem. Because right now there's a small medium enterprise, there's an SME trade finance gap, which is around $5 trillion to get back to pre-COVID times, and that's lack of funding that the banks have for small medium enterprises. And so 40% of SMEs worldwide do not get access to funding because the banks don't have the liquidity, the enough funding to give it to them. And
by SME, you obviously just for people listening, small and medium enterprise, obviously.
Small medium enterprises.
Yep.
So that's the companies all around the world that make the world function. It's the small guys, the medium guys. It's the ones that are the builders of the economy. And they are the ones that are having troubles with funding because there's a lack of liquidity in the current system. And so also in that thread, if you all are there, I hope you all are there, I talk about Initio Time. Initio Time it's a digital document platform. So they can put attached forms, and they use XDC network as a settlement mechanism, because XDC settles in 2 seconds and fraction of a cent. So Initio Time, look into that company. You see all the pictures there. It explains how they do it. They're partnered with Swift. They're also interoperable with the ISO 222 standard, which is a messaging standard for traditional finance. So this is the trade finance rabbit hole. So XDC is used for trade finance, XRP is for wholesale, CBDCs, micro payments, and XDC is a trade finance network. They also have this MLETR DDoC standard. If some of you guys have followed me, I've written on this. What that standard is, MLETR, is Model Law on Electronic Transfer Records. It is a standard that is being pushed around the world globally. All these jurisdictions are going to accept this MLETR standard, and that is a standard to have these digital documents to interoperate with other trade finance networks that may be on a different system. So it's a standard put out by the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. So the United Nations put together that standard, and they're pushing it through all their countries across the world to update to that standard. So then paper is phased out over the next 5 to 10 years. Oh, that's a lot to get off my chest. Does any,
Dude, you know what we should do 100%? Like, I just followed you. DM me. Like, I would love to set something up where, like, do you? I don't know if do you have like do you like a YouTube channel or anything? Like, I would.
Yeah,
love, like,
yeah, I do. It's in my. I'll send you a video, or did you DM? Did you DM me? I don't DM.
No, I just followed you. So yeah, DM me or I'll DM you. We should. It'd be really cool to have like a reciprocal type thing where like I would love to have this stuff like presented and like.
Oh yeah,
like,
let's get it out there.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Because you've done the work and the research. Like, it's fucking awesome. Like, I would love to just have a conversation and even just bullshit, you know. And I think just get involved in that more and try to, you know, bridge over like a lot of these utility aspects that we see in all the networks that we believe in. So
totally, you know, like that's why I created my channel, is because, you know, I've done the deep research for the last 4 years, and, you know, I want to help other people see the stuff that's being covered up, because, you know, this stuff has been buried in depths of the internet and mainstream media doesn't even dare touch it. So that's why I created all this educational content, is to hopefully inspire some deep thinkers to actually start seeing what the hell is going on out there, and, you know, what is being covered up.
I don't know if you follow Fame21 More on Twitter, but that
Darren.
Yeah, Darren.
Oh yeah.
We just started a podcast. It'd be awesome to like have you on as a guest and just bullshit about anything you want to talk about, any assets you want to talk about, whatever, and just kind of shoot the shit about where we think this space is going. So
totally, sure.
I'll DM you to see. I don't want to interrupt your thing.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good, man. Cheers. Okay, we got a hand up here. I see Montana. Sorry, I was. Let's see here. Invite to speak. Yeah, if you want to talk, Montana, do you have a question or something you wanted to say?
Hey, how's it going, guys? No, just one quick statement. I just want to say how crazy it is to have you guys hosting this space. And I'm really excited, King, you joined. I was actually trying to set somebody up with a Twitter and all this that wants to get more into crypto. And it's crazy because top 4 people I said to follow was actually Citizen, Tokenicer, King, and Darren. So super excited. Definitely am into you guys linking up, and just say we should do this a lot more often, because it's just insane the amount of deep dive research y'all do. Tokenizer, the videos I just started watching of yours as well, is they're so deep. If more people knew this, I feel like it would just be it's just crazy. I don't know, but that's it. Just want to say thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to the rest.
Thanks for giving me
the kind words.
Thanks for giving me easy follows, dude. Because I just followed. I followed you too, dude. Token. I gotta watch your guys' shit, because like even just the talk that we even had tonight, because you guys just reciprocate kind of the same mindsets that I potentially have in this space, and that takes time to put that stuff together, Citizen. Like putting a framework of thought together where people can kind of see the path and what things they're involved with, and just at least trying to tell people like, hey, this is like it. I'm not saying this is a guarantee. I'm just saying that like it's in the ballpark of being utilized, and if it's even in the ballpark, like Jesus God, is this a huge opportunity, you know?
Oh, 100%,
yeah, no, for sure. Like,
go on.
Were you gonna say? Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, nothing in this space or even in just like financial markets are ever a guarantee, unless you're talking maybe like the only guarantee you can find are bonds when it comes to assets. But if you like, as we were talking about the deep dives we've done, we've seen the World Economic Forum, the IMF, the ITFA, and even like a bunch of central banks around the world. They're all we hear them talking shit about this space, saying how they're speculative assets, risky, used for money laundering. But if you really look what they're doing behind the scenes, behind all that bullshit they're saying, you'll see they're actually preparing for everything happening, the digitization of all assets, tokenization of money.
I think that people are slowly starting to kind of like, it's taken time, but I even look at like 2017 when Jamie Dimon was saying that if anybody at JP Morgan was caught buying Bitcoin,
he'd fire them, right?
But then the next fucking year, like in the right where the bear market hit, like there was a study that was like, JP Morgan acquiring Bitcoin mining licenses and all sorts of stupid shit. You know, it's like people are starting to catch on to it, but it's like, man, It is literally right there in front of it's in front of every single one of our faces, and it's like I do look at like those enterprise grade assets. Xin Fin XDC is certainly in there. Quant for me is in there. I think their Ashraf with the governing board is going to be fucking insane. There's still, but there's probably like 10, I think. But there's going to be so many more too, and it's like paying attention to research and like people like Citizen and Token. Like this is crazy because these guys are really providing a service, and it doesn't matter. Like this, I'm glad I joined the chat. I'll shut up. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, no doubt.
No. If you have anything else, just add it. You're putting a bunch of useful shit in here for everyone to listen. Is there anything else you want to add about XDC, Citizen?
I think that's pretty good for tonight. I seen Dakota there wanted to say something. I think that's good for right now, and then we should move on to the next. So Dakota, you go on.
Yeah, sorry, my audio is pretty shit right now. I'm at the gym, but can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate you guys doing this space. It's awesome seeing King here too. When I got into XRP in the beginning a few years ago, I watched your videos like crazy, so it's cool to see all you guys together. But man, it'd be sweet to see you guys do a weekly space because I know you guys get a lot of comments and questions on your YouTube videos, and you can't really answer all those, right? So it'd just be cool if you guys had a weekly roundup where you just sum up the news and like people can come in, ask questions, then bam, you have it recorded. And if anyone wants to get a recap on the fucking weekly news and stuff, man, it's right there. And then there's people asking questions that other people have. So man, you guys get followers and shit, and we get educated. So man, I don't know about you guys in the chat, but like drop an emoji if you'd be down for that, because man, that'd be fucking sick, I think.
Yeah, let's see the emojis, people. Would you guys be down for that?
All right, I see some hundreds.
I see 100. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
My emojis count for 5x the other emojis. I gave one, and I think even if you this is the important thing I think across the board is like people get upset about moves in the market because potentially not buying it at the normal opportunities, everything else. But I think even if you can do something that helps one person in like a sustainable way. And like, I don't give a fuck who I'm talking to. Like, if I have reciprocal values of what those people's mindsets are and everything else, somebody's going to get it. Like, somebody's going to understand, like, not everybody is trying to just show you shit and do things in a bad way. Like, getting involved in good communities, if you can help one person and create a good community that helps one person, that makes all the difference in the world. And who gives a shit about anything else? Honest to God, like, who cares? If one person has helped, that's all that matters. And then there's a lot of people in here, so I'm not saying anybody's a fucking savior. I'm just saying, like, just continuing to provide educational mechanisms to the communities that you care about is really important. And I think I would love to see more people, start to do things like this, because I see chats and I'm like, man, I love joining into these chats. It's fucking awesome talking to everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, exactly. This just adds to the whole, like,
we're starting a community.
Crypto's already bringing communities enough, and then we're kind of starting communities of those communities, talking about these assets that will play a role in our new regulated financial system. And there's a lot of controversy around all that I actually post about, just because the majority of the crypto space is still in the whole, let's say, Bitcoin, Ethereum, unregulated DeFi kind of thing. Yeah. And that's because of the whole libertarian approach, because technically as, let's say, free humans, that's what we want, right? We want freedom, we want anonymity, we don't want to be governed by anything. But sometimes you have to take a step back and realize, as disruptive as this technology is, the 1%'s power isn't just going to go away like that. Like,
no, it's not. I mean, and a lot of this is why I don't want to drag on it, because I don't want to get off the topic that Citizen had here, but it's a lot of these, and I said it before, like a lot of these DeFi protocols and a lot of these NFT projects, unfortunately, are going to come under the hammer of whatever regulations are dealt out. And man, like, imagine whenever that happens, like. And
shitcoin shutdown. I call it the shitcoin shutdown.
Yeah, but imagine even as developers are like that, and this is why it's unfair, and this is what I really want to see happen, and why I think that there needs to be clarity. Imagine putting so much work into a project, because I've done it for 6 or 7 months to figure out what could be sustainable or fall under some sort of a normal regulatory clarity, and then regulation comes out like right before launch. Or imagine even being launched for 3 years. Like the watershed effects that happen from some sort of regulation for projects that have already been out for 3, 4, 5 years. Like Ethereum's interesting because you can essentially like kind of do a relaunch and be like a reset, like, oh fuck, you know, let's push out a v4 of the code or whatever the fuck we do as a smart contract. You can't do that on a lot of these other platforms because they're more efficient, but also they deal more in finality. Like the XRPL, like I don't think that you can do it. You can't just reset a full contract. And you know what I mean? It's when you start digging into the weeds, it's like, man, it's going to be really interesting to see how this shakes out. Not only from a regulatory lens, but from like the tech end as well. Like which networks are going to win out. It's fucking crazy. It's so exciting though.
Yeah, no, for sure. And while it is still a very broad topic about which networks are going to win, there's definitely signs between certain networks where, like, I'll use Quant as an example. Something that's being used by over 500 banks, being used by Oracle and all around the UK government, that's something that's a lot less likely to fail than, say, your average shitcoin that's working to build the next infrastructure for DeFi or something.
You just reminded me 1,000% that I said I was going to reaccumulate more Quant like 2 weeks ago and I forgot to. Keep going, I'm sorry. But yeah.
But I'm not saying like all these more decentralized coins are gonna fail, but it's just the ones that we have the most evidence of success are likely the ones that are working with entities that are like essential to our world. So
regulated trade finance, you know, banks, financial institutions, the regulated side. You want to see the federal connections, you know.
No, exactly. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just investing money in, I don't know, something you don't even know who coded up. Like, I'll go back to.
You know what's going to be really interesting is you're going to see like some sort of a normal market cycle occur because they will time clarity and all these other things. And I think that we will literally see like, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but a rise from the ashes of like utility-based like assets within this space where like it may be in the depths of a bear market, but then regulations will hit and it'll be like, yeah, my God, it's happening. Like, you know,
the thing we've waited for years is finally happening.
And it's Oh, so what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say after we're done speaking, I seen HGTP there had a question or you wanted to say something, and then Significant Juice had a question.
I was literally just about to bring up Constellation. I was going to say, so beyond just working with regulators and stuff, Constellation's a perfect example of this. They're not quite exactly working with regulators in the sense of the SEC or whatever, but it's more that if you think about it logically, something that's working with the U.S. Department of Defense, like the U.S. Air Force,
the fucking Air Force.
Yeah, the DOD and the FBI,
and even Space iTrack, like a space organization that was founded by Microsoft and Lockheed Martin. That thing's probably not going to fail. Like,
you know what another project is? Have you guys looked into Singularity?
I have, yeah. I've started recently looking into that.
Jesus Christ, dude! Be prepared for that fucking rabbit hole because that is, dude. You're talking about like the dude behind Singularity Net, like, and I don't even hold Singularity. I want to though. But essentially, like the first United Nations AI robot, Citizen, that like the Sophie robot, that was Singularity, all that shit, like, and it gets into like United Nations like educational initiatives, and they have all sorts of crazy big contracts with crazy big people. Singularity's one, yeah, for sure. And Constellation and DAG, certainly 1,000%. I did a deep dive on them. There's a couple of other, like Harmony had some pretty big relationships, but I don't know. You can kind of go down the rabbit hole. Like Casper is fucking like obviously like China, blockchain service network China. There's some layer one that has a real deep connectivity tissue.
Yeah, I'm really curious with
Damn right. There's so many. It's crazy, man. Like the amount of hours, it just keeps going deeper and deeper. And then once you start seeing how these networks intertwine and how they can interoperate value between them, it's crazy. And we'll get into that a little deeper here. But yeah, is there anything else you guys want to finish off before we? I think we should ask a couple questions here to the ones that wanted to speak, because I seen there's a couple people.
Yeah, there were a couple of speaker requests. Anyone want to add something?
So HGTP, you go first, and then we'll move on to significant juice.
All right. So first of all, I just wanted to say, Tokenizer and Citizen, you guys are both fucking awesome for helping me and then everybody else in this space. By the way, this is my first time ever speaking in this space.
Sweet, welcome.
So, yeah, thank you. But I did get some pretty good insights from y'all's tweets, and I don't know if Citizen has a YouTube channel, but I have seen Tokenizer's YouTube channel, and then I came across Citizen's Twitter, and I learned a lot. I went through, I went through the whole thread, and you know, it's crazy everything that's happening in the world, and it's really feels good to be a part of this. Because I feel like it's like a once in a lifetime sort of opportunity. So it feels good to kind of have an upper hand, I guess, in knowing these utility coins instead of just, because I was deep into Solana and all these other, I mean, not to shit on them, but these just feel more superior for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Well,
I guess it's all utility, but
and we don't have downtime. We don't have downtime.
Yeah, exactly. That's one reason for sure. And then I also wanted to mention, just like how King said Singularity Net, I've definitely looked into Singularity Net, and I've done so much research, and I do hold a big bag of that. So hopefully it takes off. But anyways, I wanted to ask Citizen and Tokenizer, if you could only hold 3 cryptos, then what would those be? Just a question.
Do you want to go first?
I can't do it. I can't hold this 3.
All right, I'll go then.
Only 3.
You have
I just want to know y'all's top 3, and then I want to know why.
USDC, Tether, and the
Shiba.
Shiba Inu. No, what about SafeMoon though?
Shiba Inu, Dogecoin, and
SafeMoon.
BitConnect.
Hedera, Hashraf, Quant, and XRP. Those are my 3.
All right.
I will give my 3. Those are my 3.
I'm Quant, XDC Network, and XRP.
Mine would be Quant.
Those are my 3.
Constellation DAG, and then give me a moment.
But it's hard. I got too many. It's just the.
My first 2 are usually always Constellation and Quant. I think for my last one, I'd have to go with Xin Fin XDC.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to sort of pick y'all's brain, but thank y'all for letting me talk, and keep doing what y'all doing. I really appreciate y'all. Okay.
Oh, we got a couple other requests here too. So just one sec. We're gonna go with Juice, and then we'll get to the other 2 here, Zach and Marijuana.
Hey guys. Hey, just going off of I guess the theme of this space. I don't know. It's really my first Twitter space, but
welcome.
The future utility of blockchain, I guess, and then I heard somebody mention something about these like institutions or LLCs or financial business structures that are developing digital assets, and how that's important to incorporate in the future of blockchain going forward. So like, I'm really excited about Helium and the Reaper coin. I've seen something like that, and I think they'll be instrumental in building passive income for people in an automated future and world where there's less jobs. You know, I think that'll be a big part of what crypto and blockchain technology can do for us in the future. So I don't know if you guys have heard of Reaper. I mean, Helium and HNT.
No, I've heard of Helium through the DAG partnership, I think, but I haven't heard of Reaper.
Yeah, same.
It's an XRPL token. I'm not very good at doing research, but I've tried to look into it. I don't know if you guys wanted to look into it maybe a little bit and put something in your Twitter or channel. I don't know. Okay. I'm not trying to shill it or anything, but it seems to be a very good project. They seem to be all doxed, and you know, I don't know.
Okay, well, thanks, man. Appreciate the recommendation, and
yeah, for sure. Thanks
Cheers.
for hosting.
Yeah, I got a quick
cheers,
question.
man. Yeah, marijuana, you, and then we'll go to Dave here. And
I may have ended up in one of these chats like a couple nights ago, but I've been buying XRP for a while now. Over the past couple months, I still bought some, but my portfolio.
Can I
on my
ask you a
ledgers,
question, marijuana, real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Have you been watching the Alex? I was going to say marijuana pump stream. Have you been watching the Alex Cobb pump to $1 live streams?
Alex Cobb. I actually think I may have seen that name over the past couple of days, but actually, the only reason why Zach Rector, I recently started following him, and it sounded like he was watching this, and that's why it popped up on my Twitter. But the Alex Cobb thing, I mean, what was that again?
No, I mean,
it's a joke. It's a joke. It's
a lot.
Okay.
So yeah,
I
love that dude, by the way. But a lot of people get super excited about XRP at 80 or 90 cents.
No. So at 22 cents, I spent a lot, and
100%, dude. 13 cents, 11 cents, 22 cents. Anything now, I think is good. Sorry, dude.
So, anyways, so I bought some more, but either way, my portfolio is 90% XRP. I finally bought some XLM because I just I was buying XRP. And then I got some algo, and so I successfully got all of those onto my ledger. I did the little algo governance thing just for fun. I don't really know much about it, but $100, figure it out. I don't know. My question really is I really like XDC's price, and it's ISO 20022 and all that stuff, but it's kind of a simple question, I guess. Do you guys have that on your ledger? Do you know how cold storage XDC where
you have to get a decent wallet because Ledger is lacking. They're slow. I've been asking for 6 months to get it on there, but they just, I don't know, they're so swamped with everything. They just haven't put XDC on their things. But if you're going to store it, you can either do a soft wallet or you can buy a decent wallet, a software wallet, which XDC Xin Fin Network created an application where it's just a Google Chrome browser, and you can store your funds safely there. Just don't lose your key phrase.
Okay, you said it's on Decent.
So no, Decent's the software wallet. I have a link in my main thread there if you want to save $50 off the one, or you can get a software. The software wallet's free, and it's just a Google Chrome. If you just search up XDC Pay, XDC Pay.
So I've only put. It's so cheap. I only put a couple $100 in, honestly.
Yeah.
Would you? Long term. I'm long term. So
switch
if
it
it's
over
an
to the
ISO coin, it's
wallet,
only going to get hopefully easier to store it. Or I'm fat with my XRPs. I'm really not. I don't really care.
There you go. Yeah. So just put it on the software wallet.
I don't think it matters if it's a ISO coin or not. If it's going to get easier to store, but even with a small amount, if you're longer term, I think it makes sense to have a cold storage wallet. And it's not. It's not decent like Wayne's World decent, but it's decent. So it's D.
No, yeah. I already have. I've downloaded practically everything and put all my shit in my safe, but I don't necessarily have anything in every wallet. It's just there. So then
where it was. Should I store? Because I think somebody had a lot of their funds tied up into Celsius and a couple of these other yield bearing platforms. And this was somebody from Patreon. They're and I heard somebody saying, well, if there's an internet blackout or a mass scale NWO event, and I was like, okay, well, number one, I don't know how to answer this fucking question because you're framing me for this point, but I think it always makes sense to keep kind of that long-term utility bag in cold storage or at least a good amount of it, and then potentially have stuff that you want to play with on certain platforms as well.
No,
here's a random side one also now that I got, because I didn't really have a question in the first place. I wanted something a little different. Did you guys ever see a tweet from David Schwartz 3 weeks ago talking about how you can just transfer the coding for the XRP ledger to banks on a USB drive even, so they can write their their whatever you want to call them, not CBDCs, but their stable coins for their countries on the ledger.
No, but that dude fucks with the community so much.
David Schwartz is hilarious.
Because I've tried to interpret tweets before, and I'm just no, this dude's super trolling. It's stuff that I would post. But
he had good things to say about the trust lines when that.
No. Don't get me wrong. Because he is either in
Yeah.
And when he posted that, he might have been very, very much so definitive in that can happen type post.
Right.
But it's like you're either getting that David Schwartz where it's like matter of fact that this is how it works, or you're getting like the taking a picture of a penguin from 3,000 feet away saying some riddle about XRP, and it's like.
Okay, so I think we should do one last question and then move on.
Antarctica,
one last question for Dave, and then move on to Token. We'll move on to DAG. I think we should do a quick cover of DAG because I think we're running out of time here.
Yeah, definitely. Is there a time limit to these spaces, or?
No. I just thought you had something to be at 6.
I think it's at 8.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Where I was going with the central bank thing was like if that was true, what David Schwartz was saying, it would be interesting to think about these countries, you know, on like the not free world end, pushing the central bank digital currencies for control, but then being able to actually trade with other countries, meaning being forced to like actually like have to log on to essentially all the partners that Ripple's made. That was my only weird kind of train of thought, where it's like, because I always see XRP kind of as this like almost Trojan horse where they've been just laying back, making connections, and just waiting to like kind of save us. I hope.
I don't think I can feel this for 30 seconds. Sorry, Citizen. I can try to.
Oh no, that's okay. That's okay, man. We're all participating. I just don't want everyone getting bored or something. That we're
just
everyone's entertained.
XRP centric. Sorry. No, I don't think that it's necessarily a Trojan horse. I think that I can look at why I hold XRP, and it's very definitive. It's because, you know, I do look at a clear separation between like the tracks that Ripple has certainly been laying and the utility of XRP. But I also have to look at moves that Ripple has made as far as like ILP and Interledger Protocol. Like, why would they have developed like such an agnostic value transfer protocol that is certainly being adopted across the board? Like, I even saw a report today saying one of 3 that is essentially like making headway as far as like that value transfer mechanism that doesn't have to deal in any asset or in crypto, or it's just agnostic to the point of just transferring value. All the moves are very interesting. So, and I think that I just look at like XRP potentially being an asset that, if it's given some sort of regulatory clarity and we do have some sort of a level playing field with some interoperability mechanisms involved, like I want an asset that has market makers all across the world. I want an asset that is, you know, spread across the world as far as validation is concerned. Something that has some sort of a bare bones regulatory framework around it that can settle and transmit value, you know, as a bridge mechanism very quickly. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a given either. So I think that, I don't know, we have to kind of step back from XRP and be like, it's not going to go to X value, but it's one of the like Xin Fin or like fucking H-bar or any of these other assets. It's one that is playing in a very small group of power players to be potentially utilized, and I think that I would hedge my bet within a lot of those groups. So.
Totally. Well, like, especially like just bringing up the Interledger protocol, I just shared for everyone that's here that if they want to see some partnerships that I've seen with the Interledger protocol, you know, you got Mojaloop. Mojaloop is including the unbanked population of Africa and connecting them to the traditional finance system. And Mojaloop, Bill Gates, baby. He doesn't know we're talking about him right now, but he probably does now. But yeah, Bill Gates, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they built Mojaloop, and Mojaloop has literally built off of Interledger protocol, and Interledger protocol can use XRP for their settlement channels. So it all connects back. And, you know, I don't think Bill Gates would be investing in a company and be using a security to hook up the unbanked to the banked.
I think Interledger protocol is attached to other things as well. I mean, talk about like Hyperledger and all sorts of other aspects. So yeah, that's what's really interesting is like, I don't think that Interledger was released to use XRP by any means necessary.
No,
it was released because it kind of creates that
interoperability.
Yeah,
layer.
where you don't even give a shit about what you're transmitting in value. So that's crazy that Ripple would literally develop that and make that move. And I always have to go back in my head and I'm like, I don't think that XRP is going to settle between the Bank of England and the fucking Fed. Like, I don't think that makes sense. There's too much liquidity. There's legacy rails. But in the exotic corridors with all these things being built out, I think that it would be very interesting to see with like these low liquidity corridors that need some sort of a bridge mechanism into the financial system, and you tie in Mojo Loop and like the empowerment things. That's kind of where I think it maybe goes, but it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add to the fact that that you brought up Hyperledger. For anyone who doesn't really know what Hyperledger is, it's pretty much a they have open source software for all these online solutions, not online, but technological solutions through the use of their blockchain system Hyperledger, which unlike these, like all these crypto projects it's permissioned. But the biggest thing is all the people that are actually working within Hyperledger. There's a bunch of these crypto projects we've just talked about, like Quant, XRP, and even Constellation is
Hedera is in Hyperledger. Yep.
Yeah, I've got a little mind map showing all the connections there. I'll try to dig it up right now if someone else wants to follow up with what I just said.
Dude, I get fucking sick of like looking into Hyperledger shit because they keep coming up with new names. It's like Hyperledger Indie, Hyperledger.
Let me show you guys. I got XX there, and my Deep Anon guy. He's got a perfect chart for that. One sec, I'll pull it up too, and I'll share it so you guys can see all the different names of Hyperledger.
I'm just gonna wait, like, because the next fucking name is gonna be like Hyperledger Wet Sand or like Hyperledger Extreme Underground. Like, let's just fucking stick and just build out Hyperledger. Yeah. There are other initiatives though that aren't necessarily dealing in a native token that are doing kind of the same thing as Hyperledger. There's not many, but there's a few, and it's really interesting to see the things that those initiatives are doing as well. And it's like, man, this shit all has to interoperate at some point in time, and there's definitely corresponding relationships. So finding them, I think, is interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Like, one thing I feel like a lot of people sleep on are these regulated blockchain consortia. So another one aside from Hyperledger would be like, if anyone knows of the INA-TBA, that's the International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications. So pretty much all those cryptos on there, I would argue, are a lot lower on the risk spectrum end than some of your other like shit coins on some low liquidity exchanges, just because it's not just crypto projects in that organization. Like, there's R3 in there, there's HSBC, IBM. Like, these guys would not be working.
I think another one is Interwork Alliance.
Yeah, Interwork Alliance is there.
Interwork Alliance is one. You're 100% right, dude. And NATBA is huge.
I guess that's a faster way to refer to it.
I felt bad. I was like, oh shit, it's in a meeting or something.
Someone's mic is on there. Dave, your mic is on there.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I guess
no worries.
I had a couple of questions for you, for Citizen. I think the first one is kind of, what do you I guess where I get confused between XDC, XLM, and XRP is kind of what's the secret sauce that XDC can handle that the other two can't, or is it just a matter of kind of the aggregate of all of them?
So XRP is wholesale payments, CBDCs, but XDC, the special thing about XDC is the digitalization of documents being able to be attached to an XDC payment, and the partnership. So XDC has different partnerships compared to XLM and XRP. So XDC is more trade finance sector. So there's a difference between trade finance and then wholesale payments and CBDCs and stuff like that, because trade finance is like bills of lading. Here, I'll pull up an article and I will share it, and then you can see the difference. Because when you digitalize an invoice in the supply chain, paper doesn't have any data points. Paper, 99% of all stuff in the supply chain is paper that has 0 data points. But when you digitalize documents, you get every data point on that document, and you can sift through that with AI, and you can pull out the clean data, what you want. So for example,
can I ask a question real quick, because I'm interested in this, because you're explaining this right now.
Yeah.
So we've seen over the past 2 or 3 years that there are, I think of Cargo X. I've seen a lot of relations like for a few years with them from a supply chain initiative, but they seem to be very supply chain driven. If XDC has the functionality essentially of like tying in documentation into a payment or a settlement mechanism, what would be the need for a supply chain coin? Why couldn't XDC just facilitate that and just swallow that as well, and also have more liquidity and all the other things that you would need to kind of do that on a mass scale? And it sounds like that is what's fucking possible. Am I stupid in saying that?
No. So now, so Cargo X is actually a part of the TFD initiative or the DNI initiative. So they actually interoperate with the XDC network. So it's literally just, there's so much money and value in different companies worldwide that we're going to have multiple successful networks that are going to be a part of the trade finance digitalization of documents. What I see, like Cargo X, then there's XDC. I seen there's a new R3 token that they created. I forget the name. I got it in my notes here, but I'd have to look at it. But yeah, it's all just going to be an interoperable function.
And I think a lot of people are sleeping on that portion of the market.
Totally.
I'm going to hop off in 1 second here. So I'll leave you guys with this. Like the most interesting document that I have probably seen from like a multiple digital asset perspective, agnostic standpoint, where any of these assets could be doing these things, was from a guy, Alex Pentland, MIT, so Massachusetts Institute of Technology. 2016, worked with Ripple and all these other fucking protocols. He's still in the blockchain and DLT space. He put out a document probably like 3 months ago called From the Internet to the Interledger. And Did you remember seeing that one? And it essentially, what's really interesting, and we keep talking about like reciprocating value, where there's such an opportunity in this market to fucking literally change your life from whatever you want it to be now to wherever you want it to be in the next probably decade or two. But he lays out like the next 25 years, I would say, where things just become swallowed by distributed ledger technology. So obviously value grows. Obviously we have regulatory clarity and all these things. This is, make no mistake about it, like you can fucking get hypey and you can deal in bull markets or bear markets, but this market will continue to grow and consume things over each market cycle, because that's what the technology inherently does. And just being smart is man, if you just step back and look at what's actually being built and just it's so easy. It's not hard, and that's, a lot of people make it hard. It's not fucking hard. Just watch what people are doing and don't buy at all time high, and only invest exactly what you're willing to afford to lose and exactly what you're willing to lose it in. That's it.
And people got to really take a step back and like, don't wait until mainstream media is telling you, because mainstream media is corrupt. They don't tell about what's actually going on. You actually have to put in the research. You have to step back and you have to look at the banking system. You got to look at the flaws. Well, what's wrong with the banking system? Why is there a digital revolution going on? What is being innovated? What is causing this change? What is tokenization? You learn these steps, you put in the research. Like it takes research to understand, and you have to understand before you invest, because if you don't, you will make terrible moves. You will sell too early, you will sell too late. If you don't understand what you're investing in, you're going to make bad moves. So you need to step back from reality of what you have in your real life, and you need to start digging and learning and teaching yourself. Because if you don't teach yourself, then you're going to make a mistake, and then you're going to do something wrong, and then it's a constant learning thing. You make mistakes along the way, but it's just putting in the work. You got to put in the time, and I see Dakota wants to say something there.
Yeah, I'm just curious. So, say someone's starting to research and all that. How do they know if they're researching the right stuff? How do they know if they're if what they're doing, their research methods, are correct? What would you suggest for people to
If
start
it's coming
doing?
from Twitter, if it's coming from Twitter, if it's coming from a blockchain, and this is just from my experience.
Yeah.
If it's coming from Twitter, if it's coming from a blockchain company like CoinDesk or any of these fucking things, or if it's coming from even any major news outlet, like Forbes and things like this are like a little bit more reliable, at least to potentially like be like, okay, well, it's always about like kind of vetting it out like through third party like mechanisms. So it's like if I find an article in Forbes that I think is interesting, or a banking article I think is interesting, I will like click on that article, and then I will like actually do like targeted searches with like quotations around them. So like X company, blockchain, and then PDF, and like try to find like actual things that have been potentially announced or launched. It's like it's almost impossible to research unless you're like, I don't know. Is that a really shitty answer, Citizen? Maybe you guys have better ways of doing it, but like it's always about like vetting out anything that I read, like trying to find other shit. And usually it's by mistake, where I will find like a company and I'll start doing searches from that company that I see in this initiative. And then I'll be like, holy shit, this is crazy. Nobody's seen this, because I will find something from like targeted searches outside of like an initial article way down the rabbit hole. It's crazy. And that's it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No,
like you don't ever want to invest, like stay away from companies that are, like when people are researching, you don't want to invest in companies that are promising massive gains. You always want to, like when somebody's researching, always research the team behind the company, what past projects they were involved in, why, how long were they involved, what ties do they have. You always want to get secondary sources. Don't just take one source. Don't just take one guy's source because he's saying, oh, this is going to hit $1 million, buy this, blah, blah, blah. Do more research, like other sources, different sources. And I think that is the best way. And then, like for me, when I'm doing my research, I look at companies and then I find what those companies are partnered with, who they're in bed with, and who they're actually building with. I look at the team. I won't invest in a project unless it has a good and transparent team. What else? And
you have to have social. You almost have to have social engagement to some extent, is what I've realized. Is there's really good layer ones. Like I found Geek, GEEQ, which is like I think it's like proof of honesty or some sort of weird consensus mechanism. January of last year, and it just didn't do anything. No, it's a mix of all of the different utilities, but you have to still like be like, these layer ones have to be like actually like kind of actively showcasing what they're doing too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you can have a really good protocol, but if you don't have a community around it, it's not going to get off the ground. And also vice versa. Like as we've seen with like Dogecoin and stuff, where once you have enough of a community around something, price does go up, but that doesn't mean development and adoption actually goes up at all. It's just people buying in on hype and speculation.
Yeah.
I see we've got some hands up. Should we
let's get Gilbert here. Gilbert first, and then we'll get you up there, and then we'll move on to just talk about
Should we
DAG.
move on to DAG after? I feel like
right after these
about
two,
the
we're talk
Ledger
about
protocol
DAG.
for a minute now.
Hello?
Yeah, just because we've been off another rabbit hole. A rabbit hole within a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole.
Literally.
Yeah, can I thank you for I'm good. Yeah, so I my own opinion about this whole idea about knowing which project to invest in is, the way I use it is I try to look at the tokenomics of each project first. Like I try to see a use case scenario. So I read the white paper. The white paper is very important in any project you are trying to invest in. You need to like look at the white paper. That's how I do it though. Then I try to see what is the actual use case of this thing. How does it generate value? I try to read about the tokenomics. How will the value of this token improve? What are the reasons that will give this token value in the near future? So basically,
that's a great way to look at it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay. So this is how I found about Matic before Matic became what popular now because I was reading about the whole layer. I just found out that, okay, this is something that Ethereum really needs, something that will ease off the whole pressure on the network, and people are going to go for it because it's something that is a big issue for them. So that was how I analyzed Matic, for instance. And there are many other projects that have different use cases that you can look at, but you need to read the white paper extensively, like go down into the white paper, understand the project, what problem was it trying to solve, and if that problem really make any sense to you, then understand the tokenomics of the project. If the token economy makes sense to you, then I look for coins that have a cap, like a supply cap, because I feel like any coin that goes to infinity have a limitation on the amount of price action it can achieve after a while because of, let's take for instance Dogecoin that has no limitation. I don't see $1 as a very, very feasible figure because of the amount of market capitalization it has to achieve for it to go to $1. So that's just my own contribution. I just thought I should say something to this. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Thanks for contributing.
That's a really good point, that if it doesn't have a supply cap, it's, depending on what it is, it's essentially no different from our fiat currency, right? Like,
it's like the US government.
The reason we shit on our fiat currency so much is because 40% of the supply of the M1 money was printed literally in the past 2 years. And obviously you can't do it to that extent here in crypto, but like putting up Dogecoin was a very good example, because if like Doge's chance to hit $1 was back in May when Elon was shilling the fuck out of it, but over time it's just going to get harder and harder, not just because there's people realizing like, oh, what the fuck was I doing putting money in here, but also just because of the fact that it's inflating, right? And the more tokens there are out there, the harder it is to reach that $1 goal.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah. Thanks for inputting that.
Okay.
And Zach, I see that you've got a question.
Yeah, Zachary. What's up, man?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Okay, so thanks for having this conversation. I just want to say that you've been putting out some of the best deep dives I've seen in the crypto space, Citizen. So that's been really nice.
Sick. Thanks, man.
I have two questions, and we'll be able to roll into DAG. I know you guys have been wanting to get into that, because I have a question about DAG, and then I have a question about data, the use case or utility of data in regards to blockchain. So first off, in regards to DAG, I haven't really gone too deep on them, and it sounds like you guys have. So what I'm wondering is, what did that partnership with the Department of Defense entail, and what kind of adoption are we really seeing with DAG? Is that like a real partnership? Because in this space, we see a lot of people claiming partnerships, but sometimes they don't really mean anything, and they don't really mean that the crypto is going to be adopted, but maybe DAG just consulted the Department of Defense for 6 months or something like that. So if you guys could expand on that.
Yeah, for sure. So that partnership is, it initially started out as an SBIR1 contract, and I think it was in August it officially became an SBIR2.
Phase 2, yeah.
So yeah, the phase 1 essentially just means they're doing research and development together, and then wait, did I say phase 1 is research and development. Phase 2 includes funding and other collaborations, and then phase 3 would be officially partnering and finding solutions together. So what Constellation's doing, what DAG's doing with the Department of Defense is they're working to build out the multi-domain control, which is going to allow them to access and control the data from different agencies around the United States. So that's also something they're working with Splunk, which is another big data company that they're partnered with. And they're working with the U.S. Air Force as well. So while it's not, like, it's still a pretty broad topic with how they're working with Joint All Domain Control. But it's definitely I personally think it's more of an official partnership than some of the other projects that claim to be working with some other large companies.
Right.
Just because you can, this goes back to, sorry, I don't remember who it was that asked how we legitimately research these projects, but one way of looking at partnerships when researching is if you, let's say, shitcoin A says they're partnered with, I don't know, the Bank of England. Well, if you were to look on the Bank of England site and you couldn't find it, well, you should probably take that partnership as a grain of salt. Whereas looking back at DAG's partnership with the United Air Force, you can find information of that and stuff that the Air Force has said about what Constellation is doing. And I feel like that just adds so much more validity and legitimacy to that partnership, just because it's not just one side of the party that's discussing what they're doing. It's both sides.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for that information. I'll have to look further into that too.
Yeah, of course. No worries.
If you check, I put a tweet up. Okay, this is the mind map of my connections that I put through with Constellation. And there's also a bunch of notes in there and visuals. There's a thread within a thread there. But the big thing about Constellation DAG and data. So we're getting into our deep dive on DAG here that we could talk about is, so HTTP, we know the main structure of the internet. It's susceptible to attacks, to be compromised and be changed. And with HTTP, hypergraph, it's unhackable. They could see if there's anything modified in the data pipeline. And I'm pulling up another thread that I'm going to attach. But if you picture the army, and the army goes through massive amounts of data between sensors, tanks, Humvees, soldiers, sensors. And if, for example, if any of that was hacked, then that can be loss of life. Like, that is a huge, protecting that data is very important to the army, because, you know, if someone was able to hack into their commands and to be able to get all that sensor information, that's where hypergraph and DAG comes into play, because you have a feeless network that can interoperate machine-to-machine payments, and that can create a protected data pipeline, so they know that there is nobody able to hack and change the data along the way. So I'm gonna copy paste these couple things that I've seen so you guys can see it, and then so that's what I wanted to mention.
Yeah, so just to follow up with the second part is exactly what you're talking about, is data as a use case utility. I had a conversation with Quincy Jones back in August on my channel, and we were talking about data and how you don't necessarily need a token that is speculatively traded by us retail investors, and it might actually be a turnoff for adoption by some companies. And so what I'm just wanting to get your guys' opinion on is, do you think that is an issue for DAG and for other like data cryptocurrencies that are going after that use case? Because I can see the utility. Obviously, data's massive, but are they going to want to use a blockchain that's tied to a coin or a token that is speculatively traded amongst retail investors?
The way I see it is, so while it is, I guess, operating on I guess DAG is a DAG, it's not a blockchain, but similar things. I don't think people would be as worried about that in the long term, as it's not exactly like Constellation is an official company that has a CEO and everything, but the hypergraph network is arguably separated from them. Like, they don't, at the moment, they still have control. Like, Wyatt is programming everything for there, but in the future, it's going to be more and more decentralized as more nodes and light nodes come on. And at that point, I don't think people will be wondering like, oh, I don't really want my data going through a blockchain company. It's just going to be, oh, my data's going through the hypergraph. And the goal for that hypergraph is to make it as decentralized as, say, the internet is, by spreading nodes around the world.
It's an infrastructure layer, but the thing is, with the L0, with the state channels, the Department of Defense really doesn't care that, because they're able to make private state channels for the Department of Defense and enterprise companies that need to move data between different layers and stuff like that. And one
big partnerships that I've seen with Constellation Network is they've also been partnered with Space ISAC. And also, if you guys look into the next threads that I posted, there's some images showing some of the stuff we were just talking about and the devices and the interconnecting and what it is actually used for. So you guys can see some imagery behind the magical things we're talking about.
Awesome. Thanks for answering those questions, guys. And like I said, I appreciate all of your deep dives and information.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad that you can take advantage of them and actually use them to build your knowledge. So yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for leaving feedback. That's motivation, man.
Dude, did you want to further elaborate a little bit on state channel, Citizen? I feel like that's something that really sets Constellation apart from all of the other competitions and also the whole layer 0 standard thing. Because smart contracts are literally just state channels. They're literally just smart contracts on steroids. Like, smart contracts pretty much operate on if this then that programming logic, whereas state channels are much more robust and allow for other forms of data to come in. So it has a lot more real world business application because of that freedom for developers to code it to something else beyond a if this then that.
Yeah, just one sec. I'm just pulling up my notes here that I've got. Just give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, sounds good. Does anyone have any questions about Constellation at the moment? We could answer them while Citizen's getting that out.
I see a significant bird there.
Oh, sure. And a speaker. All right. Yeah. Significant juice. What's up?
Maybe he's away. XRP enter. XRP enter. Hello, XRP. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah. We can hear you.
My question is related to Constellation. Is this, respectfully, I came into this a little later, but XDC was mentioned. Is this a competitor to XDC, or is this a complement, or is it a completely different space that you're talking about with DAG?
I would argue they're two very different spectrums in the whole crypto space. DAG's more working so with the validation of data and building a new infrastructure for like all the data that's coming in, because data only grows exponentially. Like, we're expected to make something like 485 billion terabytes a day by 2025. So with all that data coming in, our hypertext transfer protocol really can't take it that much longer. Like, we're already seeing hacks and like ransomware and stuff popping up more and more often. So once, let's say, IoT and stuff comes in and smart technology gets integrated into our regular daily lives, like smart cars and stuff, we're really going to need an internet that's much more scalable and secure, because with smart cars, for example, if you get a wrong data input or a slow data input, that can be the cost of like lives and hundreds of lawsuits.
Totally. And especially when it's a completely different, like, they're two different industries. DAG is for more machine-to-machine payments, securing data pipelines, like smart cities. So if any of you guys don't know what a smart city is, it's cities that are built, that are being, like, there's a couple in Japan and like other parts of the world where it's literally a city where everything is automated. You have all the vehicles are automated. You got buses that are automated. You got sensors and everything, and all the light sensors, and everything's communicating with each other. So you have massive amounts of data being moved between, because like these cars are on the grid. The grid is now telling them when they can go through the lights, et cetera, and it's all interoperating.
Okay. I value that feedback. I know that there's a huge community following the ISO 20022 group, and that's why I wanted to make sure to confirm the difference. Again, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
No
Glad
problem.
we could help. And to add on to the whole DAG with ISO 2020-20222 thing, one of the advisors on Constellation's team, they were actually one of the founders of 2200 Labs, which is basically a organization that's working to help accelerate the adoption of the ISO 2202 standard. So while DAG isn't exactly working with the whole banking and financial thing,
I'm about to share an awesome smart city mind map for you guys, okay? So if you guys are interested in seeing visuals, mind maps, things that challenge your knowledge, there's this account here in this thing. If you see the two white X's, his name's XX_1133. He creates these deep utility mind maps, and they outline networks. They allow you to visualize. I shared them in the beginning there of XRP and the XLM ones he created, but they're gorgeous. Give him a follow if you like that stuff. I'm about to share it here. One sec. And I see Mitch, you asked a question here, so I'm just gonna, should we let him ask the question while you're getting that?
Oh, I just pulled it up. I can just say this quickly and then we can get on to Mitch's question.
Yeah, sounds good.
Michael Sigel, he's an advisor of Constellation, and he's the CEO of 2200 Labs. So again, Constellation isn't exactly working in the same industry as like Xin Fin, XRP, XLM, and them, but because of this connection, it's very likely that we could maybe see Constellation working somehow within finance in the maybe further down the line, when regulations are laid out and everything, whether it be data as a payment through the banking system or whatever. We don't really know that yet, but definitely something to think about.
Last thing I'd like to ask on that real quick is there a competitor to DAG in the space?
It really depends what you define as competitor, I guess. There's a lot of other directed acyclic graphs out there, which you could argue are doing a similar thing to what Constellation is doing, but I think the biggest thing that separates them apart is, one, their layer 0 standard, but two, also the fact that they're working with the US Air Force. And if the Air Force sees, this is the US government we're talking about. They're not just going to be handing out partnerships left and right? They're going to be calculated with their decisions. They've got a budget to stick to.
I agree. I thank you for that last bit of feedback. I'm very familiar with white papers, so I'll just take a look at that. Thank you.
Sounds good, man.
Hell yeah, and then I just posted that in there. Right? Mitch, and then if you guys, everyone take a look at that beautiful graph that explains a smart city. One day, I bet you 20, 30 years from now, maybe we'll be able to afford to live in one, but I know they're expensive because they're just being built, and the richer are living in those. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Hey, Isaac.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, man. Good.
I'm good, thanks. Hey, am I skipping ahead of anyone? I don't want to jump the gun.
No,
HTTP is taking a little time to load, so yeah, just fire away.
Great. So a comment on a previous question, and then also a question of my own. Just wanted to expand a little bit on the DAG competitors for smart cities. Something that everyone needs to be aware of is that IOTA has some pretty deep ties into the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure Network, EBSI. So that's basically the European Union's blockchain to basically run most of their digital identity and other things. They're in the third phase of the contract at this point. So just be aware of that in terms of competitors.
Yeah.
Not going to happen over in the U.S. Obviously, the U.S. isn't going to hand over its defense networks to a company partnered and built over in Europe. But thought everyone should just be aware of that. And then the other thing too is that, for me, I have a little bit of trouble differentiating between the layer 0, that DAG's essentially forming, or what they call layer 0, which is interoperability between all these networks, and then what Quant is providing as the rails. So I was hoping that you guys could maybe go into a little bit more depth differentiating those two aspects between the two networks. I know DAG is a little bit more data centric, and Quant is legacy systems and APIs. But I feel like, from what I know and my understanding, it seems like they are similar functions in a sense.
So, did you want to go?
Me to? I'll just.
You
say
go first.
something
Yeah.
Here. So, did you ever read the Quant Network and Quant Constellation Technical Integration Overview white paper?
Yes.
Okay. Because there's some really good points in there. But so, DAG is for protecting the data between those networks. So, Quant is like the interoperability layer. And then, from what I understand, is DAG is the data protection layer. Maybe Token can go in more depth.
Yeah. That's similar to what I was saying. What I was going to say. The fact that in their partnership for smart cities, so Constellation is going to be building a connector into Quant's Overledger, and Constellation's interoperability method is more so extracting data points from any data source, so that they're able to go through, let's say, I don't know, Bitcoin, and grab the data source from Bitcoin and interoperate it into their network, right?
Yeah.
And they can, and so reading this right here from that paper, my highlighted notes, it says Constellation provides application support. And it organizes data streams. So it could take data streams from these networks and it can organize them. It integrates with existing data management and tech stacks, and consensus as a service based on reputation for democratic real-time verification of data. So it verifies that the data is legit, and by appending the Constellation developer tools to data pipelines, they provide a way to secure those pipelines at scale, while creating an immutable audit trail to big data feeds. So once it's added to the data feed, it's Immutable Ledger. They can use AI to sift through it, whatever they need. And the Constellation Hypergraph is built to accommodate production-ready data environments and are compatible to existing tech stacks like StackPath, MongoDB, Databricks, and Cloudera. And so it's just basically protecting the data and then allowing it to be able to interoperate through with AI, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha. It's interesting when you put it like that. It almost sounds like they're an Oracle system along the lines of Chainlink, providing data to Quant's Overledger.
So Constellation's actually, they're not exactly an Oracle, but they have solved the Oracle problem through their proof of reputable observation consensus. Where,
the functioning of it.
Yeah. Just tracing back to the point of origin where the data came from, right? Like,
interesting.
Yeah, but to add on to the question you had, so I mentioned Constellation or Hypergraph extracts the data from any other network, whereas Quant is more so. Here's how I like to look at it. So if Constellation's kind of like the land that connects everything together, like on the Earth, I look at Quant as the sky that connects quite literally everything as well, because the sky just it's like Overledger. It reigns over everything. Whereas if you take I don't want to shit on any other networks, but Polkadot, for example, they're also another interoperability solution, right? But their method of interoperability is more so building bridges across every other, I guess, continent, if we want to keep sticking to this analogy. So you can eventually see how building all these bridges is not only more inefficient, but leads to a lot of potential bottlenecking in the future too.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you.
I do have another picture. Now, since you mentioned IOTA, I just shared XX. He created an awesome mind map of IOTA. And if you guys want to look into it, there's some good research and just like connections of the IOTA network on there that I just shared in top tweet there. And I'm getting the Constellation one just for another picture for you guys.
Thanks, Citizen. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, cheers, man. Okay, there's one other person there. Hippie.
Hippie.
We'll get Hippie here. Hippie, did you have to say something, and then we'll get Gilbert there.
Hey guys, this is XRP. I just want to say thank you for providing all this information on DAG and also giving the feedback related to validation. I'll just say I've been in the space for a few years now, but the great thing about having these communities is learning and continue to grow as we fill our different bags and continue building more. So, hats off.
Exactly. Thanks. Cheers, man. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you for being here. All
Yeah,
right,
thanks for
let's see what
participating.
Gilbert, what's up?
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask a question. There was something you said about interpretability. That's discussing about the dot network. I just wanted to understand because I actually it caught my attention when you said there could be bottlenecks in the future when you, with your knowledge, I kind of saw it that way. I've not seen it that way before. I was always looking at the whole security angle, but I didn't see the angle of when it has to bridge to so many other networks that it could be an issue later in the future. So I just wanted you to like expand on that idea. I don't know. I'm talking to Tokenicer. I hope I'm calling that right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So are you basically asking the what issues could occur with so many bridges?
Yeah. I just wanted to see your own opinion about that concept.
So the thing with building a bunch of bridges is, one, it's not as efficient, right? Because now with as we're already seeing in crypto, there's new networks that come out pretty much every single day. So they pretty much have to build a bridge to every network that they want to interoperate. And I'm sure you can see why that would become very time consuming and capital consuming in the long term. Whereas if you have something like an overledger that's built over top of all these blockchain applications and our legacy systems, you can easily just interoperate any source into overledger and simply have it that way, rather than having to build a bridge every single time you need to bring in another network, since overledger gateways will pretty much allow you to do the exact same thing without having to go through all that.
Okay, I understand. Thank you for your elaboration. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Tripton, and as we get to our next question, I'm going to show you guys another sweet visual from XX there. So as we get on here, let's get Tripton here.
Okay, Citizen, I don't mean to rush you or anything, but do you want to transition into next generation exchanges? Quant.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we've been covering a bit of Quant as well, hey?
Yeah, so let's just do the next generation exchanges, and then we'll cover Quant quickly. And
let's finish off all these questions first, though, hey?
Yeah. So you guys are the three next questions, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gil, let's do Gil next here.
Gil, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? First of all, thanks for hosting the space. You guys do amazing work. I have, I'm a huge utility token holder and across the board, and I've been, trying to do what I can in terms of researching the tech side of things, and I'm not very good at the tech side. I don't know whether you're the two of you are collectively on this space with the knowledge bases around, but I'm trying to, I guess my question is, what is your thought process between why the tech of, these utility tokens, Quant, XDC, XRP, HBAR, DAG, like these, the difference between hypergraph and the interledgers and whatnot. Why is it going to be a better opportunity than the potential of the big block? Because is big block technologically more scalable? I mean, I'm trying to figure all that out. So I don't know if you guys can help me, because I don't want to diversify into something that's not going to be utility based, but the technology is where it always goes, right?
Yeah, but what is big block?
Well, like the BSVs, the Bitcoins, the BTCs, the ones that are like considered like larger. You know what I mean?
The biggest thing for me personally, and I think likely citizens as well, is the fact that while Bitcoin it obviously had the first network effect and gave birth to the space, that's about it for what it can really do to the extent of just sending money back and forth. Like, yes, there's Taproot with the smart contracts now, but it's not really an optimal space to build out actual regulated applications on. Like, personally, I find it very hard to picture a government building an application used by other agencies on Bitcoin's network, whereas they could build it on a more regulated and semi-permissioned one to prevent any like potential malicious attacks or anything. And yes, while that does take away from the whole decentralization ethos of crypto, I personally don't think everything literally has to be as decentralized as possible, because there's still going to be businesses and authorities out there that need some form of pseudo centralization to have their operations run properly.
Yeah, 100%. When it comes to the infrastructures of all governments and worlds, and or not worlds, but countries and so forth, it has to be somewhat centralized. I agree. I guess, you know, the tech side was more, you know, when we look at the end of everything, you know, technology wins, right? So whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's a fork of Bitcoin or whether it's HBAR, you know, with the hypergraph technology, I'm trying to kind of focus, you know, and I don't know if it might be wrong, because obviously relationships play a huge part, right? So, you know, the relationships that HBAR have created and that, you know, Quant and DAG and things like that are massive. So it might not be all about the tech, and maybe the tech can increase as it goes, but that's where I'm kind of at a loss in terms of understanding the growths and the scalability and the tech build out with such things as the hypergraph technology and the interledgers and so forth. And I didn't know if you guys knew much about that, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, and like another big thing is, just because it's the big one right now doesn't mean it's going to be the big ones 3 years from now, 5 years from now, because, you know, some of these networks still haven't had their mainstream adoption because they've just been building and working and building, and their mainstream adoption effect will come, and it's just a matter of time until, because, right, like each of these techs, DLT blockchain networks, they have their own industries, they have their own niche that they're trying to go for, and yeah, so just because it's not the big one right now doesn't mean that, but it's all about the fundamental analysis of a network. You need to look at the tokenomics. You need to look at, hey, is this carbon neutral? If it's not carbon neutral, is it going to get attacked down the road? Like, if you guys haven't seen that IMF document that I posted a couple days ago, you know, they really tore apart proof of work for its energy consumption, and there's now, we're going to see over this next year, we're going to see an attack on the energy wastage, and so there's so much to look at, but you need to look at what's going to be carbon neutral, what's cheap, and like not like what settles instantly and cheap, and what's interoperable with traditional finance. And, you know, there's a lot of great options, there's a lot of terrible options, but that's, I think, what I have to answer with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I honestly think Bitcoin is you know, the technology itself is the blockchain, the name of
it's
Bitcoin.
The grandfather. Yeah, it's the grandfather.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is the original, but you know, like what's the best way to put it? The debates that I have with some of these, not Bitcoin maximalists, but like these big blockers, right? Is that like these forks of Bitcoin, which are newer and better tech and so forth, have more capabilities than things like with the technology side of, or the blockchain technology side of the interledgers and the DAGs and so forth, the scalabilities, and I can't find any solid, you know, technological descriptions of how for me how that's different, because I don't understand a lot of the inner workings, so to speak. So, but you guys are supporting what I think I already know for the most part, but I thought I'd ask that and see what came about. So
sounds good. Well, thanks for participating.
Yeah, that was a good question.
And,
I appreciate it, guys. Look forward to you guys hopefully hosting these spaces a lot. So
feel free that if I write threads in layman terms, and I also got a YouTube channel that breaks down some of the utility. Like, I create utility content because I want to help as many citizens see some of the research that I've put together and give them a way to learn from a blue collar perspective, I guess you could say, or whatever.
Absolutely. I saw you guys recently, and I think I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago. I watched one of your.
Keep digging. Yeah, keep digging, man. Keep digging. There's so much knowledge in this ocean. Just keep learning and keep growing, and just have a good attitude and keep trying to find out more.
Hey,
Appreciate it, guys.
Gil, this is XR real quick. Just to add to the discussion, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't valuable. One thing I've noticed in your feedback is you recognize technology and the value of relationships. I was an early Netflix investor way back in the day when they actually mailed in the videos. At $4 a share, I got into it. So what I'm trying to share is always have a student mindset and don't ever think you're asking a bad question.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like,
great point.
The space is still so speculative that any question you ask, we're not going to take it as a bad question. Like, 99% of the population still doesn't know, like, the infrastructure of this space exists.
I'll tell you one bad question. If you asked me if Shiba Inu was going to $1, I would say that's a bad question. That's a bad question to ask me.
It's not a bad question. It's a prime example of the lack of understanding.
It should be a rhetorical question.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to Tristan then. Tripton.
I think I just joined the conversation. Really cool that you guys are having this, but somebody was mentioning a bottleneck effect that oracles would cause. Were you talking about oracles causing?
Sorry, that wasn't regarding oracles. No, that was regarding other bridge interoperability solutions. So things like Polkadot, for example, that are trying to bring interoperability into the space through building other bridges. So while that is a form of interoperability, it's more of a central interoperability thing, because that would require quite literally everyone to use the Polkadot standard to interoperate between other networks.
Well, okay. I mean, I get what you're saying, but also I think that that CCIP, no matter what institution is or what organization is writing these protocols, sure, there may be a bottleneck if you're only using that protocol on that network, but like Chainlink, for instance, is not a blockchain, so it's difficult to really foresee bottleneck effects because, well, it's the networks are helping distribute these tokens, whether they're NFTs or other cryptocurrencies. They're helping distribute them across multiple networks, and no one network is going to be directly transacting these tokens. So it's hard to say that there's going to be a bottleneck effect when there's so much distribution going on and there's so much more accessibility because of the Oracle or any other bridge, atomic swap, whatever we're talking about when we're referring to cross-chain interoperability.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So I guess I was more so looking at Cosmos and Polkadot as for the interoperability issues between them.
So you're talking about,
to be honest,
the inflow from other chains. And
yeah, more so that.
The calculations that the increase in calculations it'll cause on those networks, sure. But I think if you zoom out a little bit, I think that the entire crypto industry, like Bitcoin and all the alts, when your perspective is from a far enough distance, it's all one network. So if you had a tool that was measuring it from that far of a distance, it would measure it as a single entity right now in 2022. And I think that as the years and decades go on, it's going to increasingly become one fluid, large network.
That's exactly what we were about to just get into with Quant Network and the interoperability between all the networks once we get it
And
past the smart exchanges.
and I guess I have like one macro argument, if you don't mind, if I like 10 seconds on that.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
That's not me, by the way. That background noise.
Yeah, no, that was
so
me. Sorry, I was just throwing in something garbage. My bad.
He doesn't like what I'm saying. No.
Yo, far away with the
so
question though.
So I think that when Bitcoin or, you know, Ethereum or any blockchain, when any single blockchain is a layered protocol on the internet, then we'll really see a multi-chain theory, the multi-chain theory realized. And if that were to occur, what that means is that, well, if Bitcoin was a layered protocol on the internet like HTTPS or HTTP, well, then it's going to it's going to be integral in verifying a portion of every transaction on the internet. So that means your TD Ameritrade trades will need to be verified by a blockchain. And I think that that's kind of what I look forward to and what I try to build towards when I'm building technologies, Web3 on the blockchain, etc. What do you guys think about that? And I understand the difficulty that what a difficult undertaking that would be, but you guys know that the internet and blockchain, or distributed ledgers rather, these networks are very much the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, essentially they are. But the biggest thing is, I think crypto and distributed ledgers are so still early that while we can make some assumptions based on what will be needed for this space to succeed, it's kind of hard to judge the, I guess, long-term scope of how this technology will really mature to be in 5-10 years from now. Because just with the internet, say in 2005,
just to be clear, I was thinking in time horizons along the terms of multi-century or even multi-eon time horizon.
Okay. That would be a little beyond my time horizon. Yeah, I wouldn't really know what to say if we're talking about multi-centuries.
I mean, sometimes you think a century is a long time, right? Because, well, humans rarely live to be even a single century old. But considering the fact that digital currencies have been in experimental stages since the late 70s and early 80s, succeeding and failing, and at the moment succeeding, that's 40 years, right? It's not, trying to extrapolate the network effect to the next century or two is not that difficult. So I think that maybe in the next century or two, we're going to see the entire world essentially behaving as a single network, but with multiple chains. So that's kind of cool.
Definitely, yeah. And also just with the fact that since technology is evolving so exponentially, there's probably going to be some form of technological solution, say 50-60 years from now, that we can't even fathom right now.
And I think that I really think that integrating and transplanting our hardware technology to transact our software technology in lower gravitational environments off of the Earth, on our own moon, etc., is going to help that become realized. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Citizen, what do you think the next move is?
Yeah, the next move, I think, I was just pulling up another article because, he's talking about the Earth all interoperating as one, globalization. That's what we're seeing is, standards are coming in place where networks all around the world are going to be, these standards are being put in place. So, Singapore is going to be interoperable with Canada, China. They're all going to have this
multi-chain networking where, blockchain between companies, corporates, is all going to be interoperable. And that is what we're moving to, where, the Internet of Information, that's what we currently have. And we've moved to an Internet of Value, where we can now move value like we move an email on the Internet. And that is massive. Like, the Internet of Value is where money moves free and instantly, and, well, not free, but low cost, fractions of a cent. And so I think we should move on talking about that. Do you want to talk about the smart exchanges quick, or do you want to talk about Quant?
I feel like we did cover a fair bit of Quant, but I guess we could bring in a little more info.
I just wanted to drop this thread. I wanted to show people what I was about to so they can visualize what we're talking about. Just give me 1 second here. I'm just going to share it for all you guys. I hope you like this, because it took me time to design this, and I'm not a designer. Okay, I just shared it. So Quant Network, if you guys don't know what Quant is an interoperability solution between blockchains. So the current DLT right now, we can't send Bitcoin to an XRP address. We can't send XRP to an Ethereum address. They're siloed networks. You can only send tokens to the same networks. But Quant, if you see that picture, Quant has the Overledger solution. Overledger is an operating system for traditional finance. They put 3 lines of code, like a bank, like banks. There's a bunch of banks that are partnered that use Overledger to connect to these blockchain networks. And if you look at that, I describe Quant as the neurons to the brain of the Internet of Value. And the neurons are the pathways between your memories and your brain, right? So Quant allows an institution to, if they want to move value from the XRP ledger into the Ethereum ledger, if they want to move Bitcoin to Ethereum, vice versa, Quant is the interoperator for that. So I wanted just to mention that as we were talking about Quant, give you that thread, take a look through it, read through it. I did a write-up, an educational write-up, and I hope it helps you see the interoperability solutions coming in play. And then, that's what I had to say about Quant.
Yeah, no, like, to just add on a little bit about Quant, I guess, what makes them so special isn't just their interoperability solution of Overledger, but it's also the fact that if you look at the Quant team, you'll see their CEO, Gilbert Verdian, really stands out from just about any other founder in the crypto space. Like, he's had experience working with national, like UK government agencies, but then also working at MasterCard companies, and then even the US Fed at one point. And in addition to all that, he's actually the founder of an ISO standard, which is TC307, the one for blockchain interoperability. So when you add all that and then put that into Quant, the picture really starts to become more clear as to why so many people are seeing the future potential of success for Overledger.
Yeah, great facts. Yeah, ISO TC307. It's a blockchain standard that 53 countries are working towards as a standards for blockchain.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I wanted to add about Quant. Just, they have a bunch of connections, and some of the partnerships that we've seen, just like officially listed by them, those are like nice and all, but we have to remember that they're working with some very serious organizations where those partnerships can't be released to the public. So all we can really do now is find these hidden connections between them. But pretty much finding the connections between these NDA partnerships and seeing, I guess, how accurate we are once they really do announce them one day. But Michael's got a question.
Yeah, Michael.
Thank you. I was just going to ask about the I believe you said IOTC standard, a blockchain standard. I'm familiar with ISO 222, but I was just asking to get like a background on IOTC standards. I'm ignorant to it.
Okay, yeah, here, let me read you some things here. So, everyone, TC 307, the ISO TC 307 standard was founded by Gilbert Verdian, which 53 countries are currently working towards. We also look at the European Union's launch of the International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications. So Token mentioned that earlier, INATBA, which Quant Network is a founding member of. And then, so some other people that are part of that committee are Sony Europe, Chartered Association of Certified Accountants, MIT Connection Science, UK Government, HSBC, Microsoft, and then just an executive summary of what TC 307 covers is it's a standardization by providing internationally agreed on ways for working with to improve security, privacy, and facilitate worldwide use of the technology through better interoperability. So standardization of blockchain technologies and DLT, and it's divided into 6 groups. So the TC 307 is divided into 6 groups. Working Group 1, which is foundations. Working Group 2, security, privacy, and identity. So even though they have CBDCs and stuff like that, well, from my research on these central bank digital currencies, they are going to have a privacy layer. So it is going to be like cash. They won't be able to see everything and track it all down. But so going on with the standard here, the Working Group 3 is smart contracts and their applications. And then other things that it does is it talks about standardized use cases, governance, and interoperability. And that is the main stuff behind ISO TC 307.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to say I also appreciate, what y'all are doing, getting on here and educating us about this stuff. I'm actually mostly on the XRP ledger myself. I dabble in the Stellar network as well. But I've done, I'm familiar with what the ISO 222 compliant cryptos are, what blockchains, or what to look for in a blockchain, right? Something that's carbon neutral, efficient, low barriers to entry, and then, of course, interoperability and stuff like that. I see XX113. I see him in here. I found him recently in or I don't know if it's a she, him, or
he's a knowledge dropper.
What were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying, it's a he, and he's a knowledge dropper. He's got some great research, eh?
Man, I'm talking about dude breaking down the whole blockchain matrix in some graphics. I the one with I think it was all the ISO coins on there and how they're going to be used and what they're tracing to, what function they have and everything. And I literally put that on my desktop and labeled it the blockchain blueprint. Dude is cold. I'm not going to ramble.
100.
No, yeah,
man.
100%.
Yeah, he
legit. Posts I seriously think he posts some of the most deep content you can find on this space.
Man, this stuff blows my mind. I feel like my brain is expanding every day.
And the way he presents it too is just so.
Yeah, they're literally perfect. They're it's like a motherboard of the networks.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Damn right. We map it out. We trying to make up for the lost ground. The mainstream media has we mapping it out. We trying to make up for the lost ground. The mainstream media has hid.
Buy Bitcoin, buy ETH, buy Bitcoin, buy ETH.
No, it's Dogecoin, man. Buy Dogecoin. Shiba Inu. We're gonna be rich.
AMC.
Lambos. Yeah.
But
cheers, man.
So do y'all mostly stay on the Quant blockchain?
Do you want to elaborate a bit on that?
Or do y'all specialize in the quant network? Is that what y'all study the most? And like, is that y'all's favorite blockchain that y'all's go to?
So being transparent, Quant would probably be my favorite project in the space. It's over 50% of my portfolio. But with that said, I don't just cover content on Quant. I personally, anything with a real use case and the ability for a network effect, I'd be more than happy to cover and dive into and just see how they could play into the future infrastructure of how our like global system is going to be.
Yeah, like I just see Quant as the head of the interoperability between the ISO 222 family tree, and there's so many great networks. Like I stick around the ISO tokens because that's compliant with traditional finance's new messaging standards, and but we've been going for 2.5 hours, so let's just get 10 minutes. We're going to finish it off with 10 minutes here, Token. And so if there's any other last questions, I think we covered enough. I think everyone's probably getting tired of us talking. So if there's any last things here, let's just give her 10 minutes.
Yeah. Hey guys, let me ask you just one more question regarding the ISO. I mean, same thing. Like that's where I've spent a lot of my my time and focus. Do you guys have based on all these congressional hearings and Senate hearings and so forth, do you guys have any fears with how the potential regulations and or lack of could hurt that part, or is that just so much of a standard in the banking sector that it really is not it's unreachable for them to be able to regulate? Does that make sense as a question?
Yeah. So I think I get what you're trying to say. In regards to regulation, my guess is you're saying like how all these like other countries, political parties are coming out saying like, oh, crypto's bad, it's used for money laundering, we're gonna ban it. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Well, no, I mean, so we're kind of, a lot of these countries, they're banning certain cryptos because of whatever environmental reasons. Who knows? I don't know I'm not following the international governmental agendas, but in terms of like following, locally, like even today when they had the Senate hearings, they're talking about Bitcoin and ETH, how they've already been deemed commodities and whatnot, and I guess not a fear, but one of those things where you like in the back of your mind when it comes to the investment side is, you hope that government sides with you, but if it doesn't, is XRP, XDC, Quant, are they so ingrained in the banking system that it's almost like it's going to be an impossibility for them to say we're not going to use these tokens, we're going to create our whole new ISO standard? Is that I mean, I just, like, a lot of people say, oh, if government comes in and regulates, it could hurt a lot of things, but I think a lot of regulation would help in some sorts, but it could hurt in other ways. I don't know how much you guys follow with all the talks with congressional hearings and whatnot, but what are your thoughts on that?
Do you want to hit it, or do you want me to go on this one?
Sure, I'll go first. In regards to that that spectrum of regulations, I wouldn't say so much worried I'd say overall for the crypto space as a whole, I'm not exactly worried about regulations, but I know there's going to be a day where it's just going to be a storm of red when regulations do kick in and they're like, okay, we can't be having people making fucking dog coins and that dog coin being worth over $38 billion. So I think in that sense, regulation is going to play a very big role in providing legitimacy to the space. But I also believe if you're holding the right projects, the ones with utility, the ones that are working with the 1% of power, those ones are a lot less likely to be, like, I guess, ruled out because of regulations, just because they're already being used by these big corporations and enterprises all around the world. So if the governments were to ban them, that's just like a big fuck you to innovation.
And it's also like a lot of money. Like crypto's only worth about, I think its market cap is about 1.6 trillion right now. Stocks are worth about 200 trillion. And if you think about it, crypto or digital assets are essentially just stocks, but with use cases.
2.1 trillion global market caps.
Oh, it's at 2.1 now? Okay. But
yeah, it's been there for a few days.
Like what I was gonna pitch in here then is, you know, you got these connections, and like when you look at the fundamentals of utility networks and how it's actually automating systems, and you can't go back on these partnerships because you got some of the biggest banks, and like this is revolutionizing the back end of the systems. You know, it's not the front end where the retail in that play, it's in the back end. And regulations are gonna go, it's gonna stop the shit coins, but it's gonna let the utility tokens that are making the federal connections, that are making these partnerships with actual officials, those will thrive. Those will be allowed to thrive because it's actually doing something for the markets. It's, you know, it's creating instant settlement. It's creating feeless settlement. It's creating digital document secure data pipelines. Like, it's creating so many different variables. But the shitcoins will get shut down. They'll get regulated. They will regulate through exchanges instead of banning crypto, because you can't really, like, it's hard to ban something that they can't control the internet. So they're going to regulate the on and off ramps, so that we're going to see regulated exchanges. All the shitcoin exchanges get shut down, and that is my outlook. So if you hold utility, you're safe over the years, because they're not, like, Congress isn't going to come in and say, hey, we're going to stop you from saving money and revolutionizing your systems because we don't understand the technology. I don't know. That's my point of view. Anyways.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And to just add on to that, say Congress does take a more, I guess, serious approach to this in a more strict way. We have to remember that this asset class is literally global, and that if, let's say, the US were to ban it, there's hundreds of other countries that are more than happy to adopt the innovative potential and just the amount of money that this industry is going to bring in. So it, like, China's already banned cryptocurrencies for now, for, I don't know, the 10th time. I personally don't know if this ban's going to last for that much longer, just because China's eventually going to realize the amount of money pouring into this global asset class. And eventually they're not going to want to just sit out on all this. Because if you're a country, you're not going to want to lose that amount of power.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that China has more of a potential threat with any of the blockchain technology than the United States, obviously, because of, you know, what their governmental ideals are. You know, I hope to God that, you know, the United States gets on board with, you know, not, I don't want to say regulation. I want to say more defining what it is that they see as the differentiator between the tokens. Because if they can do that, I mean, you know, all these major countries, United States is going to be a fantastic place to be. And I forget the female's name that was in one of the hearings. I want to say her last name was Roe, but she brought up a great point about how, you know, you don't have to live here to be incorporated here if the government would allow it, and the amount of money that could flow in through the country just by doing something like that would be massive. So there's a lot of potential. I hope the United States gets their shit together, so to speak, sooner than later. And that's all I got, guys. I appreciate it. It's been fantastic.
Perfect. Cheers, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, this is XRP talking real quick. Just wanted to mention that, going back to what the discussion was about, remember, I would categorize 100 countries, even if the backlogs are in the U.S., where we have cement legs in some ways. And we really don't know where China's at, since they're, you know, sending out digital wallets to parts of their population, and to allow them to spend digital currency right now, we have really no idea where they're actually at in that. With our limited information. So the other thing I'd like to hear on this discussion was how many people were paying attention to to what was going on in Washington today, since it affects the whole crypto space, not just one part of it.
No, I didn't see what was going on in Washington today.
Yeah, I'm
sorry.
just looking it up at the moment.
If you guys follow Crypto Harry, she posted the link to the actual hearing. It's about 2.5 hours long, but it was very good to hear some of the stuff that was going on.
Sweet.
Oh,
I
yeah,
watched the
definitely.
last two. I watched the last two Congress hearings, and yeah, I thought they went pretty well. Michael, and when tripped on, we'll get to you shortly here. Was there any other question? So I think should we move
those
on?
two are up next, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Michael?
Yeah, that's what we mean.
Yes. I actually have a YouTube channel that my buddy and I share. We get about 2,300 subs, and I was just gonna see if you'd be interested in doing an interview with us or having a discussion on our channel sometime. Actually, both of you are welcome to. Citizen, I've been following you closely for a couple weeks now, but yeah, I just love to have y'all on.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure,
for
man.
sure.
I'm sure
We'd
we
love
can
to.
make that happen. Yeah, I'm sure we can make that happen. Yeah, just DM us, and then we'll arrange a date or whatever. Me and Token will come on and do a host or something.
Yeah, we appreciate you for reaching out, too.
Yeah, cheers,
We're
man.
always open to just grow these communities out as far as possible. Like, it's all just networking, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, again, I'll keep saying it. I really appreciate what y'all are doing for the community.
Just doing our
Cheers,
jobs.
man. Yeah,
Appreciate
that's
it.
motivation, man. We're just trying to help other people, since no mainstream ain't doing it, so we better try and help. So okay, so let's let Tripton go there, man. And hey, everyone, I posted this SEC thing in there. You know, if you haven't been following the SEC crypto law case, check it out. And you know what? If you're from the States or you're from the international, sign up as a community. And if you look into it, there's a lot of corruption. How they gave Bitcoin and they gave Ethereum a free pass because of their ties. So I just wanted to shout out and do my part, because the more people that sign up to that, there's 60,000 holders, and I think there's 20,000 holders internationally. So if we can get that number to 100,000, even if you're not a part of XRP, it's just to go against the whole thing there. So check that out. It's a deep hole. But yeah, tripped on. Sorry, I went on a little tangent there. But yeah, you can go next, man.
No, I would like to agree with what the last guy just said. You guys are this is a really valuable space, and your Twitter accounts are quite valuable. So thank you, because it's like right now, fucking Paris Hilton has 2,000 listeners on her room, and it's like fucking nonsense bullshit. Okay.
Cheers,
so
man.
anyway,
Cheers.
just
That's really
if you guys
appreciated.
don't.
Wait, real quick.
So
my bad. I was just gonna say I saw James Rule XRP in there, bro, and I respect him hella. I watch his videos. I was like, bro, what are you doing in here?
Hey, she's still hot, so I mean, can't blame a guy, right? So, that joke really failed.
Yeah.
But so
Okay.
I guess on the
I laughed, but I was on mute.
Okay, cool.
Okay, is there anyone else in the crowd there, or did you still? Sorry, I cut you off.
I think Tripton had a question,
So I guess really quickly on regulation, I think Gil had brought up the question on regulation, and I think that, dude, unless there's some way to regulate the entire network that is the internet, and if there's a way to silo sections of the internet, meaning that you silo certain countries and restrict their access to blockchains and decentralized exchanges and DeFi protocols, etc., or interoperability protocols, cross-chain protocols, we're really not going to see a lot of even S coins being minted, because you would have to turn the internet off, and you would have to somehow turn off decentralized exchanges. And MIT has a software now. It's called Coin Manufactory. So Coin Manufactory runs on an MIT license, and you can go on there and mint your own coin, and you can name it, you can give it a ticker symbol, you can say, okay, I want 10 or 50 billion, 80 billion tokens minted, okay, and you do that for $110, whatever the current ETH gas fee is. So I think that, you know, you can regulate the heck out of crypto, but I think the regulation is going to fall heavily on the top blue chip alts and on Bitcoin. So because the banks right now, they're all fighting for Bitcoin. If you guys don't know, that Grayscale has over 1 million Bitcoins, and who knows how many Bitcoins BlackRock has. But lastly, it's that, you know, they're going to regulate these banks because they're going to be issuing, the banks are going to be using crypto to issue credit. So I think the regulation is going to fall heavily on those firms and on those parts of the market. But you know, I think now until the end of history, the end of humankind, you're going to be able to mint your S coins.
That's a very good point.
I think humans are going to have to turn off the internet. And why would you turn off the internet? As you can be as centralized and as corrupt as you can be, but you're still going to remain bullish, so to speak, on the internet. So you can't turn off the internet. But you can, but it's very unlikely that will occur.
They can't turn off the internet. Oh, sorry. Go on, Token. Or who said that?
No, I was basically just adding on to that like even though there are a bunch of shitcoins out there that eventually will get some form of regulation, I don't mean that in the sense of these shitcoins just not existing anymore, because as you added, Triton, these
Tryptonomics.
Tryptonomics, there we go. Even when they're regulated, it's not like they're just gonna make Dogecoin not a thing anymore. Like, the thing with these cryptos are, once they're out there, they're on an immutable ledger, they can't be erased anymore. So what they're gonna do, in my perspective, is they're gonna have these on-ramps not allow you to buy Dogecoin or whatever.
I agree. I think, you know, the way you guys should think maybe to look at it is similar to the stock market, right? These meme coins are going to be the pink slips, right? So they're not going to be as easily traded by the masses. You know, you're not going to be able to, you know, purchase the pink slip stocks on, you know, Coinbase, so to speak. You know, so the shit coins will be regulated by the government to say that it's going to be a much harder process. So it might have to go through the DEXs 100%. So, you know, you'd have to really know what you're doing. At some point, I think the entire world population will, but, you know, then at that time, everybody governmentally is saying, look, this is not regulated, this is not secure, we have no, you know, we're telling you that this is very dangerous, just like they do on the pink slip side of things on the stock market. So at least I hope they go that direction, because then, you know, at least there's accountability for these token makers, for the ones that are vetted, so to speak, and then the mass adoption will just skyrocket from that point if something like that is done.
That's actually an awesome point.
Yeah, I agree with you heavily. I agree with you that with the stock comparison. Sorry, dude. But yeah, I agree with you on the stock comparison. But I think that we won't even see S coins regulated to that extent as well, because, well, DEXs, and also, I mean, I've been talking with the founder of X Metaversal, and he has planets on his metaverse. So there's like a sports planet, there's a gambling planet, etc. So on these planets, especially gambling, well, okay, they'll allow S coins for the gambling industry. And if you try and regulate a decentralized exchange or a decentralized metaverse that has a gambling entity to it, it's going to be very difficult. So it's just kind of most likely going to be acceptable and not very heavily discussed amongst, you know, mainstream media and traditional finance, but it'll still exist. So
100%. I mean, I think the biggest part of what regulation needs to help contain for the retail people is the rug pull, right? So, you know, being able to let the people. I mean, look, we're in a what, the 1 to 2 percentile of the people that are in these spaces, and even that, you've got to figure maybe 50% really don't understand what they're getting into because they're so new. So, you know, the potential for rug pull for those people that are new and so forth are so much higher, and that's where the regulation is so critical. Because if you take people right now in the stock market, they're not going and looking for the pink slip side of the stocks. They're looking for the ones that are on their, you know, every, you know, Robinhood and TD Ameritrade and, you know, all these big exchanges where it's going to be labeled. Like, that would be huge for the space for the layman's that haven't really gotten in. But if that happens, then, you know, I feel like then the adoption will be much bigger. But, you know, adoption is going to be all about ease of use. And right now, I mean, I have a lot of people that I speak with that, you know, feel like I'm whatever, like a crypto knowledgeable. And I mean, I know what I'm doing, but I would never in a million years say I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to explain to people simple things, and it is like trying to teach a 2-year-old how to read, you know?
Yeah.
So it's definitely difficult, and that's another part of the puzzle, right? So I think it's going that way, but hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. So yeah, it's you know, we're talking about invisible asset payment infrastructure, invisible payment infrastructure. So if a person doesn't, you know, the best thing that I can explain to a person is, I have a mind map. So I don't know if you guys haven't seen my YouTube channel. Check out my YouTube channel, but I just put out some tips and tricks for how to really map out your articles and organize your blockchain strategy. And but I give some tips and tricks. But like what I do is I screenshot any important infographic that I've seen or news article. I screenshot it, I upload it to a program, and I have easy access to it. With a couple clicks, I can find what I was looking for and use that to explain. And like that's how I make all my educational threads in that, because I do my deep research. I take screenshots, and then I write about it to help teach people, so I can show them visually what they're dealing with. And but yeah, it's hard to explain, you know, invisible tokens that only get sent through the internet, etc., etc. But we want to get wrapping her up here, so I just want to give a closing fact to leave with you all with one last thing before we get closing her up. Is as of 2021, this was from a statistic here, we estimate global crypto ownership rates at an average of 3.9%, with over 300 million crypto users worldwide. And over 18,000 businesses are already accepting cryptocurrency payments. And now if you think about how many people are focusing only in on the top 5 or the top, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and they don't go any deeper than that. And then here we are, there's a select, you know, there's 200 people that joined in here tonight that are actually learning about utility tokens that provide utility to the world, you know. So we're a part of a very select small percent, and just keep learning, keep building, and one day we'll have our time, but it's just waiting, because this isn't just like we're going to get rich in a year. No, we're talking about 10 years, 20 years. Like, this is going to continue growing, and it's like we have a seed right now. We're picking up utility seeds. One day that will grow into trees. And I think that was my closing thoughts. If anyone else had anything to throw in before we end it, because we're on 3 hours here pretty quick.
Yeah, I'll just add in real quick that as we've stated a bunch of times here, that this space is still very, very new and very young. Like, we're at 300 million users, as Citizens just referenced. That's, like, put that into perspective of, say, the internet. That was probably back in I want to say 2004. So think back then, if you had imagined you were late to the internet in 2004, like look at the internet now versus back then.
Yeah.
So much has changed, and the exact same thing is going to happen in this space. Yes, there's going to be some projects that die due to not being able to innovate, but that's just goes to show you that we're still very early here, and that there is a lot of room left to grow.
Yep, 100%, man, 100%. Because you know, there's 8 billion people on Earth. There's 1.8 billion people that do not have access to banking infrastructure. That is massive. 1.8 billion people that do not have access. That is sad, and you know, DLT is the technology that's changing it. And for all you guys that stayed in, I hope you guys got some awesome knowledge from this, got some good conversations. I'm sorry it dragged on for so long, but let's see some hundreds, people that are listening. Throw up some hundreds if you enjoyed this and you want us to do it again. Emoji hundreds. Okay, I see 2, I see 3,
Hey,
4.
thanks, guys.
Yeah, there we go. I see 5. Okay, cheers, everyone. Well, check out my
time.
thread of threads if you need some more educational information. We got, both of us have YouTube channels. We write articles. We're just trying to share educational content to help other guys, other people, other citizens, because all you all are citizens of the future if you're trying to learn these networks. So cheers, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building. And I'm going to close her down here. Thanks, guys. Thanks to everyone. And
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah.
Hope you all got something good out of it.
Yeah, cheers.
And
Yo, I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Much love.
This for sure, man. This will be uploaded to our YouTube channels for anyone who wants to recap on whatever we might have just said.
Damn right. Alrighty. Cheers, guys. Citizen of the future out.
Cheers.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Peace out.